First, my Vandana to Bhante and my brother monks and friends in the Dhamma. Actually, I'm quite nervous to speak in front of Bhante because, I so much respect and revere and feel so grateful for Bhante's we can always tell, if you want to tell, to refer to the suttas, read Bhikkhu Bodhi, Bhante's books like this. So I think from the beginning, when I met Bhante, Gnana Vimala, when I say Bhante, sometimes it will be Gnana Vimala Thero. For me, it's like the only Bhante in this whole world, because sometimes tell you honestly, I need about 3 hours for a program, and I'll try to make it 45 minutes. So it started when I was in Southern Africa. Always had this search for something. There was a deep curiosity about how this world is going on and so on. From when I was very young, I never forget, I was trying to make a machine, which I call it non-stop machine. When I was very, very young. So because of my father's sort of background there, the engineering and all that. So anyway, when I was around 14, 15, we were in Lesotho, Southern Africa. There I was interested in relativity, theory of relativity, especially the effect of time can be dilated when close to the speed of light. And that suddenly, sort of connected to, I was reading all the books, Bible and this, and there was one particular book about Sakkapanya, the god of in Tavatimsa, in one of the heavens, visiting the Buddha. So it looks like a fairy tale if you just read the sutta alone. But when I had this idea of this understanding, there's this possibility, not a possibility now, it's proven, of course, at relativistic speeds, time could be slowed down. So with that, and there the description of that particular loka, world, as 1,000 years on earth is one day in that particular realm, and such months and so on, this becomes a fact. So with that thinking, I felt a strong, connection, or that these worlds do exist. And at that time, I have not, studied. Sometimes I have neglected my studies, just thinking about all these things. It was the IGCSE exam. There, with this, I suddenly I thought, now when you are sort of having this connection to this, connection means you have no doubt about this existence of this world, you're connected actually. So with that, this thing I felt in that particular realm, it's powerful, that there's some power in that particular dimension. And so in the middle of the night, I never forget, I kept the syllabus of English language, English literature papers, and syllabus of these two, an English literature and English language, and I sort of approximated, and old test papers also, the headings of the two essays, the titles of the essays that will come. So it just, like when I felt very connected, I just sort of approximated this particular title will come. And then I told my father, of course I didn't tell what I did in the night, but I told my father to write 2 essays to go to my tutor and write 2 essays under these 2 headings. So he went, and he also didn't question me. My tutor was wondering why I have not studied everything, why focusing on these few things. And what happened, he did write 2 essays, and after 2 days I went for the exam. And in this exam, I never forget, all this, the papers are sealed and everywhere, all over the world they are sitting at one time. And then when I opened the paper, suddenly these 2 headings. So this was like, I felt like, like the universe was in my hand at that time. And it gave me kind of a, like something I'm searching for, like a certain picture. Because I must tell you, I didn't come from an orthodox way to these teachings. I thought it was a religion. My mother used to be very religious. My grandma, they used to go to Vajrarama, and we just go to visit the temple when you're small, tie a piritnula and come. So I never saw this as a main thing that will explain the whole universe, the life, the experience. So what happened, I told then after that, still I didn't get the idea of like being a monk. But that was I would say it's my first meditation. But based on this, my thinking went on. I never forget, we were yesterday in Princeton, it was very interesting in the compound. It was a little bit like a cycle. I was to go to Princeton that time to study astrophysics, because I thought that's the thing that would be, like way for me to pursue further to know the world. So this nice thing happened to me then. After about 15, 16, I think, then I used to go for walks also. But before that, I had this reasoning. If something goes faster than the speed of light, what will happen? I mean, I heard that mathematically, it should be going back in time. I don't know who studied mathematics, they might know. Those days I had some few of my father's friends who were like mathematicians, and so they were very nice for me, very interesting. I used to put these questions, could go back in time. So when he said back in time, I used to figure out, like when you look at something, say now you remember that particular object or perception, you perceive it, it's a memory. It's like we have gone back in time. So I was reasoning out, as faster you think, as you increase the speed, I would say like you could come to a point where time will stop. So it came to me that time that this meditation, especially say in terms of samadhi also, you go to an infinite area, infinite speed. And then if you have intuition, where there's wisdom, we call vipassana, then there will be a place like this, intuitive experiences, the mind should come to a point where time stops. Okay, that was those days reasoning. I never bring this explanation after a long time. Yesterday we were talking in that compound so this was still there, like kind of a theory. But when I was going for walks, around 18 years, when I was 18 years old, I remember, suddenly just a thought came like this, like a flash. What are the causes for any phenomena? It was like, I don't know, the way I had a picture of time like this, present, past, future, or like this. I'm like, what are the causes for any phenomena? Something like this. It was a mental picture. And suddenly it just came like something in the mind, I would say. It's very difficult to explain because it's so abstract, I would say. But it's so real. I think that's the only real thing in this whole. And there it came to my mind like, this is how I verbalized it. Anything that begins in time definitely ends. And there in my mind's eye, there was a mountain, I remember, on the side, and the trees, and everything that I would just be conscious of, it was like just finishing. And then I never forget, if I thought of Princeton that I'm going, I could see the longest thing that will last will be that granite building. And I saw that also like jelly, I would say. And with that, there was a picture of a monk in my mind's eye. And it came to my mind that this monk, the so-called the person who is dressed in robes like this, is a person who makes this perception happen again and again. That I should be like such a person. I should become like that. And should be in quiet places. I never knew that time there were aranyas and monasteries, no idea like that. So anyway, so with that also, anything that begins in time definitely ends. For this understanding, there's no beginning, therefore there's no end. Something like this. And it was like, yes, this is it. and anyway, certain things happened after that. Then we came to Sri Lanka. Then my grandma told me, was telling us, we want to introduce you to this great monk who is, he used to come arms round. She was so enthusiastic about this Bhante, a German monk. And she used to come once a month to my grandma's area from Vajrarama. So then she took me to him and all that. So meanwhile, I had other experiences coming also. After this, like Bhagavad Gita, when I was 14, 15, I was interested in Bhagavad Gita also. And interested means, it was like an experience, that compassion, the metta, of that, like the Brahma feeling, you know, and this I used to practice. It was more like a practice and visualizing and sort of abiding in that feeling. So this was there a little bit. So this got more strengthened by this experience. But something very much changed in the whole life of my external life also. Before that I used to get very hot-tempered, you know, like especially with my, when I was in Sri Lanka as a young boy, I used to fight at school and so much, not ordinary. I used to feel so restless and get caning and fight a lot at school. But when into Lesotho, Southern Africa, it little bit changed. I didn't do all that, but went for sports, all these javelin, cricket, and that basketball, volleyball. But I used to get angry with close people. I never forget with my father or mother for smallest thing. Now it would be in that age also, 15, 16, 17. But after this 18, I was getting this tranquility into the system. Like, it was like another person. Even my father initially was very worried, really, because it looked so abnormal. Even my aunts, and when I came to Sri Lanka, I used to take my food, you know, calm like this, in parties, in even a disco I have been to once. They all called me, I used to go. I didn't know I had a choice to say no or yes, so I just go with them. And then to see, but so during the dinners also I happened to take, so my grandma and my mother also she also had the intuitive feeling, no, this is our monk. And even when I go to Vajrarama, some used to tell, maybe he's a monk in the past, you know, because I used to enjoy some experience of peacefulness and detachment, a certain, looking at like the outside things from a distance. So anyway, I met Bhante, and I had no much time. The first meeting, we didn't have a time to sort of, my grandma asked me, please ask whatever you like, son. So I said, okay, I was shy also, but I had a real special meeting with him, like an accident. I was going my bike. I was going to share an invitation with one of my friends to the tooth relic. We had a pass, and I just want to share it. So we were going, I was going around, there's a place called Panadura. So when I was going there, suddenly at one place I see one monk walking like a giant, you know, in the hot sun, in strides, you know, very, so inspiring. But I recognized him like an old monk with then I realized, oh, that is Bhante, Gnanaloka Thero, the German monk. And I quickly parked my bike and went this thing, and I asked him, those days I asked him, can I offer you a smack, sir? Because it's like those smack you have in Sri Lanka, like drinks. So what he told me immediately was, this is not what we expect from you, that you also follow this path. So I mean, when you meet him, I'm sure Bhante should have known. So I mean, he was so, you know, like kind and so tough, so firm, he's clear about it, he's so confident, I would say. And it puts you like, now you must attain Nibbana. I will tell you one of my experiences. So just what I faced, why I came here also. Because it might be look so unnatural for me, just associating him and coming to states. I will tell you the reason. I want to quickly cover that because I will tell you. So anyway, Bhante, when I met him there, and then I anyway went and brought the smack, and he went. Then he was planning to take his full dana, double dana along the road. So they said okay, and then he sat down. And I never forget, I couldn't open that needle, and he had a Swiss knife. He took the knife, and then he opened it for me, and then he was taking. After that, I had some pride also that time, because I already had my own experiences like this. So I thought I knew everything, tell you honestly. I knew he was very saintly, or felt like that, but I didn't really feel I have something else to learn from him. I was having that pride in me. So anyway, I explained to him my experiences along the road. We just seated. I just told him about like some emptiness, the way I see the world and all that. And he just told me one word, which made me feel like I was an ant, you know. And told to myself, you have a lot to learn from this Venerable. And that was the time that I really followed him and met him again in Vajrarama, the temple in Colombo. And when I met him there, he he told me, he asked for my experience that time. He said some karma is behind it. He told me like, and just he told me, you read the Satipatthana Sutta, everything will be okay. Just like this. So he looked so, made it so simple and so on. So this is how he first directed me to refer to the suttas. Now this was something, I think, a great thing I got from Bhante. I call this the GPS. We need a GPS for this journey. And so this, he gave me the reference. Then after that, of course, I took this Mahahasthipadopana Sutta. I didn't practice Satipatthana. Actually, I started practicing Mahahasthipadopana. It analyzes a lot, and it makes you see the world through that, especially the 5 elements and so on. And there's a habit in that time when I used to read that, I used to use it as a pointer to make my focus. So I would sort of apply to my day-to-day act. I call it like a manual to understand existence or phenomena of your own, that you relate that particular way of looking into, like, you know, for example, if you say hardness here and hardness here, for example, it's a kind of thing that you take it as a hardness, you know, it's a nature. And the effect of it is that you begin to see through the illusion of getting the idea of self into, because it's in this space. So it needs some silencing your mind, and then you get to open up that wisdom brain. So I could understand those days why, when the hair was cut, that you see, they saw the truth, because there was that tranquility, that purity that is necessary for this simple truth but profound to be experienced, where it creates this, you know, it dissolves your ego or sense of self, which is, you know, and if this happens to any experience we have, all the problems of memories and all that, when you loosen or you apply to whatever trauma or difficulty you're having, you know, you begin to see that, what is its true nature, that it is like something empty and you are not there really. The problem immediately it solves. So, but I will come to that. I hope I can touch that to the end. So anyway, because I must tell exactly why I came here, that is very important for me to explain. So anyway, I went through, and a lot of other experience I had to go through. Then when I was 28 only, I was ordained. So Bhante, then when I was in Polgasdua, I went there. There I was very happy, because he introduced me to the Skandha Vagga, Salayatana Vagga. There I got to know there were so many ways the Buddha has explained, not just 1 or 2 ways. And he told me to go through that, so that you get used to that thinking. And I had a very special experience at that particular period when I stayed there. I must tell you, all these things didn't come very easily, a lot of obstacles, but I was determined to sort of break, because when you're going towards liberation, or you want to be, you'll have many obstacles if you're really going. If you're not going, you'll not have obstacles. Because it is the nature of nature's laws, and also Mara in a way. So I didn't want to tell the stories, because I don't think I have a lot of time here. How Bhante?
Take as much time as you need.
No, Bhante. In your presence, I know your. This is. I don't know how I managed to come here. Because anyway, of course, I'm getting old also now, 46, like this, the body. So anyway, I like to maybe give the main points somehow there. Sometimes I might go into a kind of blackout. You see, I will tell you my experiences, what I've gone through. In a way, I must tell you are seeing a ghost in one way. So Bhante, in that period I stayed for 2 weeks. It was like, it was a very helpful period. There's an explanation he used to give. Maybe I'll put it now here. Normally I don't want to give this explanation prematurely, because Bhante is to see whenever I'm calmed or calmed down, you know, he used to explain this. I used to like this explanation. It used to make me sort of leave everything and focus on, focus on no focusing, I would call it. And it's like, he used to explain sometimes how this consciousness is conditioned, and how it is connected with this Anapanasati. For example, say an Arahant, where this condition is removed, not there, that he would not rise again. I mean, that there was no rising again of anything. So once I never forget is to like explain it in this way to get some idea. Say for example, a businessman who has been doing a lot of, like business and all that, and then he's, say, observing 5 precepts, and he dies. When he dies, definitely he will get the last minute a certain thought for the consciousness to arise again. We call normally Chutisita and Pratisandhi in the Abhidharma in a way. So that's the condition for him, and he will get a family, Bhante says, who will help to, who will encourage him to study business, study management or something. And then maybe they have business family also. So that consciousness gets an opportunity to be active in the same type of sankhara he did in the past. So when he goes on doing like that, okay, that's one way. Say for example, now I add another explanation to this. Say for example, someone who has attained, say for example, anagami, and he is attached to, say, samadhi. Now samadhi, or feelings of piti and peace, is also a state of consciousness. And in that consciousness there is feelings, perceptions and sankhara. So that these are the factors of consciousness. Now say you completely, now he has no attachment to any lower consciousness from the 5 senses, and say the karma is also finished completely. So he doesn't get distracted by any thought from the 5 senses. So when, of course he has still karma in the Brahmaloka, because he's a never returner, but he returns, he goes to some place, state still. So that is, now say he's going to the last moment, when he's leaving this body, the last function, the breath, when the last thought, he will be distracted by that peace of mind, for example. Okay? And that becomes an object for consciousness to arise. Say for example, an arahat now, because I add that story to Bhante's explanation. Say for an arahat, for example, he has, say, any particular inclination to any object. And no craving is completely extinguished, and no karma remaining to this thing. So when the last breath goes, he can keep focus watching the last breath. And when he can keep focus to the last breath, well, and knowing its impermanence also, not attached to it, I think the Arahant is the only one who he would be observing the last function of the kaya, sankhara. And where there's no object to take place, can there be any rebirth? But he should tell me this and say it's deep. Don't take it easily like that. But it connected when this explanation I used to like so much. And later on, when I was in Island Hermitage in Sri Lanka with him, there when he told me to read the Skandha, Salayatana, Vagga and just go through that. And that time I had a connection of what he told, how this, like removing all craving for this Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. That the focus or the conditioning, because the consciousness, the factors, you're completely removing that particular condition for it to go on. So I don't know why I explain this so fast, maybe because of Bhante is here. I really don't know, because I don't want to bring it out. But the thing is, normally in my discourses, I try to touch what is in the modern day blocking this experience. No point talking, for me it's not, I want to make it practical. So I talk about the internet and the Indriya Sangara, a lot of things that work with the internet and in the modern times, which will help, sort of block you to really come to, and when you're driving, the Iriyapati, how to bring it where you don't feel stress in your day-to-day. So I will come to that, but I will tell you why I came here. After that I must come to that. The main reason was, then I was going to Himalayas. 28 I became monk, then with Bhante I was staying also another few more years. And then when he was really when he passed away, I was in Himalayas, Ladakh, observing Vasa, and I had a feeling I would not meet him. That was like the last, and there was another gentleman who was looking after. So anyway, I've been going to the Indian side of Himalayas, but I started to go to Kailash Manasarovar in 2009, like every year. But in Sri Lanka also, I was going from 2004, Bhante was living from forest to forest. He started from, what was this place? Ampara side, Kudumbigala, all these places like Bhante used to do, walking on Charika. I know it's a very, it's another type of life completely. I see that I have some feeling would have been in the past in this type of practice together, because I also feel like fish, I mean, in the water, you know, with this kind of practice. So he also told he used to explain a lot about being confined or attached to, or not attached in a way to monastery or pupils, or so. I mean, whoever knows, he was very strict about removing any kind of, you know, like, and also he used to tell you have to go through a lot of suffering in Charika, but then only you know the suffering of the sensual world. Then you get the urge to come out of it. So I went from while he was living actually 2004. From forest to forest, and then I had some experiences where the practice of skandha helped me. Now I'm cutting short the story quickly, where, you know, I was with a lot of poison leaves and so on, all pain. I will tell that part, it might help you all, I must tell that. It was through, it's called Laggal area, you know, it's like very nice jungle area. I was trying to cut across to like a shortcut to Kandy, but I met last, there's a forest monk called Jnana Deepa Bhante, and he's a very great monk too. I mean, he's a scholar as well like an ascetic. I mean, recently now the Vasa period it was very funny karma, we happened to be in the same place observing Vasa. And I just found, like, you know, he has in memory all the suttas. And he would explain, it's like in the time of the Buddha, you know, no interpretation, no tika atua. And I wish some thought came, if I had more time, I wish I could have learned, you know, from Bhante. Even Bhante Jnana, he had in memory, you know, certain suttas, but he had a sort of a sequence to bring you to an experience. Because it was very much, I think he was very much connect this thing with experiencing it with his whole heart. He told me I didn't build anything, I put all my energy to you know, sort of realize this particular truth. Once he told me like this. And so anyway, if I stop speaking, suddenly I get into like blank, okay. So Bhante, so in this Nakas range, when I was trying to cross, I was really heavily wounded, like with all these leeches and all that I had to remove, all blood, and especially was damaged this area by one leaf called mausa, which has a kind of allergic this thing. I was like feeling like I've been whipped. You feel like a cutting sensation. So anyway, some robbers found me. If they didn't find me, you would not see me today. I had no compass, anything. So Jnana Deepa Bhante, I met him on the way. Then I was passing that area, is Rambukkalu at that side. He was staying in a kutia, small kutia. So I just told Bhante, then he said, I also got myself lost some months back, and you really want to go this way? And he has maps and all that, so he showed me some idea, gave me like the waterfalls and like, you know, where to keep my direction. I had no compass that time. So normally we should be having a compass in the jungle like that. Anyway, I got, he told, anyway, once in a way an adventure, and he didn't want to discourage me, and he gave his blessings and I went. So anyway, I cut short the story, many interesting things happened, but then anyway, I went to some area, then this cardamom, you could say, pluckers, but they're illegal. They are the ones who found me, and then they were treating me actually. I was like, and I all wounded and all that. And that time I was trying to use samadhi to suppress this pain. It was not working. Then I remembered suddenly, because this area, especially the pain in the head area, it makes you distracted. Here it's okay, because for meditation you need some, you know, this thing in this area. So I told suddenly I remembered Bhante. Bhante used to tell to memorize the striking suttas. So suddenly I remember the Anatta Lakkana Sutta and Rupa Vedana Bhikkave Anatta. And there's a way how Bhante used to tell you, read the sutta and apply it yourself. When you're in your walking meditation, you look at the so-called body and any sensation you're having. So there's a way of doing that, not just reading it there, but you take it to look at whatever you can notice. So when I was looking at that Vedana, Tahidam Bhikka Veyatta, Abhavissa Vedana Abadhaya, Sangvatteya, Labbeta Cha Vedana, Evam Me Vedana Hotu, Evam Me Vedana Ma Ahositi. May the feeling be like this, may the feeling be not be like that. It doesn't follow your orders. But when I was focusing like that, I was not feeling the pain little bit. So I did the next contemplation, Nityangva, permanent or impermanent. Like that, the third one, I couldn't feel the pain at all. That gave me a lot of confidence, you know, in the teachings of the Buddha. I felt that in the midst of pain, this has power to remove this particular pain. And after that, daily I used to, whenever I have slept and got up, I would not get up from where I'm lying down. I would go through this exercise until I found I have sort of let go of this hold on the body. Now I was wondering what happened also. What happened? This pain was there. Why did it go? I was analyzing later. I think unconsciously how much we say we have gone to forest and we have renounced and all that. There's that subconscious clinging to this body. Unless we are reminded and we go through an exercise of that. And this we keep on holding. So when we hold, we feel suffering to anything. So when I was applying that, I found myself, you know, then I realized that this perception of pain works when there is clinging to something. And if you cling to pressure, then the pain is felt. But the clinging happens when you have wrong observation of it. All clingings, it has, like we say in Sri Lanka, far away it's apple and close by it's papaw is cheap fruit. Something far, everything. Whether you know, anything you feel attracted, you are living in a fantasy. And many ask me these questions, Bhante, why are you, like, you know, in Berlin they used to ask, why are you a monk, Bhante? Normally they think it's an easy answer also. For me, the question came when I was there. I told them, I was thinking, why are you lame people? I'm surprised why you are not monk. because I see also, it's because I see it's a sinking ship. Are you not going to get into this quickly? Like you're holding a string, you know, and then you look carefully. If you see it's a snake, is there a question of letting go? It's because you have not seen it personally. You've heard many things, read something, but you have not got a personal, your own sort of awakening of that. If that happens, your actions will show. You will run away. You will. The whole system will start to sort of slowly slow down. So, anyway, this experience, after that forest experience, I happen to do it every day. Now I come to Himalayas. In Kailash, 2009, I happened to go the first time. Then 2010, 11, 12, 13. Okay, but 14, now there is this something called altitude sickness. In high altitude, you get this altitude sickness. There's no medicine for that. Normally, you have to go to low altitude. So what happened, I have seen people getting, and we all get it actually, but slowly by acclimatizing, after some days, you get okay. But then some do face, even how fit you are, this can happen to you suddenly. So one day in 2014, while we were going the Kora means like around the, you know, the mountain, I got this in a severe way. And I couldn't go anymore. My guide and the driver, we were the only one there, and all blue. So I have seen other people, I have seen people die also in previous trips when they got this. And I have seen some people almost going to die and they were recovered. There were some special doctors. It was very interesting. This doctor, we were surprised. Now he was going to a coma. Like this is what happens when it's very serious. You just become so weak and slowly become unconscious. So this gentleman was almost like that. And then this military, there are a lot of army bases there. The military, one of the doctors, they came late night and was checking him and they gave a saline. We were surprised, he was then regaining. We asked what this saline was. It was, I think, liquid ginseng. It's so interesting, you know, because they know the doctors, you know, that's the local, the Chinese kind of this thing that saved the life of that gentleman. He was from America actually, that gentleman. He was next to me. And so this I have seen people almost going and then, but now I got it here, no doctor, nothing in this area. And all here blue. And a splitting headache. Actually, it was not with the lungs. If it was the lungs, finished. So I was imagining always there's a vehicle there. There's no possibility. I just don't know how I can make it. So then we finally came to one lake called Mansarovar. I mean, this is the biggest high altitude lake there, about 98 kilometers circumference. And there, the night, I was almost choking. I thought I could not make it the next morning. Then I lie down and actually prepared. Not because my now guide and the driver there in the other building, in like a small makeshift. I was. Then I thought of now focusing and watching this particular body. This is the only thing, just to make myself calm as Rupa, Vedana, Sanya. Just before this thought, another thought came, that I couldn't share enough with the people. Because I was just, this thought came and now can't help it. I told to myself, now let me focus. Because all these years I was avoiding all this preaching, teaching. Actually, I wanted to perfect myself. When I was a young monk, certain gentlemen first invited to America. And Venerable, you can speak English and all that, why not you come and teach in America? And I told this gentleman, when I become an Arahant, I will come. And I was not joking about that. I don't want to name the word Arahant because in Sri Lanka, you know, this is not the title I'm telling. When I look into myself, that I must find myself no anger, no greed, and no ego. And if I'm having it constantly, I feel quite happy. I will not name it still. Because Bhante used to also stress about practicing, not try to see whether you became Sohan, Sakutagami, like that. It's just you keep practicing and seeing the effect that is happening in you. So, anyway, I was really serious about that. So then I thought maybe I overdid this. Because maybe you're going through a PhD, but you can at least teach something from your masters or something. So anyway, that time it really told me, well, this is I should have, but now can't help it. So I managed to overcome that period, okay? Then 2015, I faced again. But this time it was like a kind of a no-return experience. And this was one entire night. I was going into like a coma. And like I can't lift even my hand, slowly. And they were trying to get the oxygen. This was same place in that lake, near the lake. And then this thing came to me, like first thought came, I couldn't give enough, can't help it now, and then observing myself. And I was like breathing, like you run, and you know, how long can you go on like that? And slowly losing energy. And so I want to cut short that, but anyway, then they took me to, they managed somehow, the morning they want to take me by helicopter. But then the helicopters have gone, the doctors came late, and doctor means a village, you know, that some village sort of doctor. And then anyway, we got into the jeep and we started descending slowly. Because better to descend. Anyway, they brought me to Lhasa after 3 days. So many times I was like choking it was affected the whole brain. And then Lhasa, then flew to Kathmandu. But in Kathmandu, slowly I was recovering. It took time, physically also. Even I can't talk, you know, so tired. And that time another thing happened, I must tell you. It was like, I would say, you know, we have heard how Mara, you know, we get attacked from Mara. But this is the time I would, in a certain way, I got to know that it was like a direct attack from Mara. And this was, I have told the senior monks, actually, I have confessed certain things. This is like what I treasure most. Now, when I was recovering physically, it was like my robes were like going to be removed. Okay, I can't explain the whole thing. But I must tell you what I did to survive that time. Now, it was like what I cherish. Now, something you will be holding on to. You know, some way of you, you know, like you're a monk like this, you're doing like that. Something like that, which I was treasuring very much. It was like completely finished. And there, just to survive, not to fall down, to get into depression, I have to hold on to something. And suddenly it came to me, don't personalize this. Now, that was not strong enough, so I used a wrong English word, don't egolize it. Okay, it doesn't convey any other way for me. I just told to myself, don't egolize this. It's just a phenomenon, it's just a happening. Let it pass away. And just continue. And when I was able to think like that, I was able to sort of let go and continue. And when I continued, I found that like gems were waiting for me. So it's all this, that was really to survive, to make myself survive. This idea, what the demon or the Mara enters to you mostly from your ego. And that's where it's like, so I understand whoever strives on this path, definitely will get so many challenges, so many problems. And if he knows something about it, he'll be happy because he'll know that he's nearing something. And so that was something I must tell you. Then I told in Sri Lanka, the organizers, that any invitations accept. So it started from Australia, then it went to the YouTube like this, and then slowly the other invitations started coming. But I did come to public in Sri Lanka 2012. This happened when I came from Kailash, that trip. People used to come, where I stayed in Colombo. They used to sit down at about 8 o'clock in the morning, and then they used to stay until 4 o'clock. So I was wondering what's happening, that if I'm just talking and they're getting something, they feel some energy or they don't feel time. Then I thought, if I gave a meditation, how will it be? So then after 3 days or 4 days, I told the Kapakaru, we called who is looking after the monastery, that please don't allow anyone to meet, that I will have a meditation program. So when they arranged the meditation program around 6 o'clock in the evening, so there was like 60 seats. But then around 4 o'clock, there was these people coming from where, I don't know. And the whole area filled up with people. It was word of mouth, and I don't know how it just went. So this is how I came to the public in 2012. And then, but still I went again like this, going, coming. And still I am like that. Just I am now, if I have to die, I don't think I'll get the thought, I have given enough. So even if the Buddha comes and tells me now, don't go, I'll be going. Because you should not have a thought when you're dying like that. There's something I would have, but I must tell you, Bhante had several aspects. I have made some notes. I have been asked by some to, all these years, like dates, and like whenever I have met him in the evening, I would have written down. It's now with Tara, that one of my relations. I kept it because in case something happened to me in Himalayas again, that is in hands of somebody. So I had many experiences with him. It's not that I saw him like, many means like this. Tell you honestly, I don't want to speak about him because I find I associated him, I felt I didn't know him. And I would not do any justice to, because how can I ever know? Only some incidences I could relate, and which sort of make me, so many was there, but one I remember, I could just tell, because some would tell, the way he used to behave, he's in situations of now, he used to tell us, you rest only in hospital. He used to tell like that, and he used to do that. I heard when he was wandering, he he cannot walk anymore, and then he collapsed or anyone, they take him to a medical small place there, and he recovers after 3 days, and he goes again. So this was the type of spirit he had, and he was not telling, and I can understand how he was there when he was very old. You could see that, he was in full control. I can relate one story because just so many was there, but one I can tell. Once I used to look after, the night time, I used to take over the night duty. Morning it was Venerable Metta Vihari, there was another Danish monk, daytime. And I used to work 2 years, I did some job-like thing to make my father happy. And night I used to come and work, this thing. So one day, Bhante, now normally we have to use the bedpan for him. Always we have to use later period. So one day I came late, so normally he used to inquire how was the practice during the day and so on. And then he, normally when he want to turn, we used to give him a small support. So I told Bhante, is it okay? And then he said, all right, everything is okay. And may you get some strength for the practice in the night, like that. And he would bless and go. But I used to go out and look again from the small, like in between the door, you know, in case he's turning to go and support him. So I saw him slowly going to turn, like, so I went rushing and I just touched him from behind, and he said, no, like this. You know, now normally he wouldn't say suddenly like a no. Like he would, you know, the way he would do everything was so gentle, but so strong. And so like a no, like this. And then I was like guessing what it was. And then he said, did anything touch you? And I said, no, Bhante, but I did guess then. To see the, like, you know, the toilet the feces have gone out. So immediately he saw me and he knew I noticed, and he just told me like this, whether it's inside or outside, there's no difference. The way he said, you know, it's like he's in it, you know, like, it's not like he's telling it for the sake of saying. Like he's in it, and it's for worry is only for me. Whether it's inside or outside is no difference. That's, I mean, and then he saw me that, of course he saw my, you know, worldly mind. He said, okay, you can. I was horrified, like, oh, Bhante, how can you? Yeah, so many, practically, you know, when faced with situations, it was very, very nice to see how old age was, you know, how he, I mean, I never felt he was old also. I would never see. I mean, I would feel sorry for us who had young bodies and strength in body, but so this was one. There's another one I just want to share, because there was a period in my life where I went across the LT. Now these are like boasting also, okay? But I must tell you, many of the people, some of them tell Bhante, most of the monks, they would explain a sutta, and they will explain the sutta to. I said yes, but I will do some small exercise to the end, maybe after the Q session, how reading the sutta and just little bit practicing, and how to do it, like how I am doing it in a way. I don't know how it will be, this thing, how you'll take it. So anyway, Bhante is to, you know, when you're going on like arms round, now we came to Polgastu as a monk when I came, first thing he asked was to go arms round. Now in Polgastu it's not possible, because that's all like, you know, food is brought there, dhan is brought there. So now I can't sort of disobey my senior Bhante, and I can't also go create a conflict with the other Sangha community. So it went on like that for 1 week, 2 weeks, and Bhante used to ask me, have you started arms round? So I said, wait, Bhante, we'll start soon. And anyway, I don't want to tell what happened, but we went to Parappaduva. There's another nuns island, and we started this Pindapata. So while we were going Pindapata, he used to put us in this mental condition when I go, like how good in the morning when we leave him. He used to tell how even the poorest person will get a chance to give dana. It becomes a dana for the person. And even the fishermen and all that. And he used to just bless them and the whole country and the whole world and put us in a kind of a metta mind and send us. So what happened, one time he was telling, now he used to bless Sri Lanka. That time the war was going on. So in the north of Sri Lanka, who had gone astray like that, you know, may they get the blessings like that, he used to tell. One day he was telling, the people who have gone astray, he was mentioning the LTT, the terrorists that time. You know, the free terrorists, there was like ISIS that time in Sri Lanka. So that they will also serve Pindapata. Now when he told like this, I was really thinking maybe Bhante is now old and, you know, that he's a little confused, because in south of Sri Lanka, how can there be terrorists? There's no chance that they would serve on arms round. So in Gaul area, Polgastu area, Island Hermitage is south of Sri Lanka. So what happened? Anyway, it went on. He told for 3 days, I remember, 3-4 days. And I have written down, but I didn't write that down, but I knew that was something where he told out of context or out of possibility. Anyway, it went on 2 years. And then I went on a wandering journey. It started from south of Sri Lanka. And I went to Anuradhapura first to Maharagama. And I met Madhya Mahanahimi, he's my like Upadhyaya, so I got his permission also. And it was his last period also, 2003 this time. Last means he was getting all small disturbances. But he was also very inspiring that time when I met him. He said, yes, you had to when you're young only you can go like this, and without getting sick you can go. So it was all walking. I stay in monastery night time like that and go on. So I came to Anuradhapura, the ancient city of Sri Lanka there, and from there I planned. I get an idea. It's the same distance from there to Nagadeep. I mean Nainattu, they call it, the Tamil people. It is across the jungle, the LTT section. So anyway, I was in the last regiment, Gamanu regiment. They were trying to stop me actually, but out of respect for monks, they couldn't. Then I also asked whether there's a conflict situation now, this present time, because I know that is not, Buddha has told not for us to not to go to places where there is, all this. So I had to get the strength that I'm following what, the Buddha in some way. So they said, no, not a conflict situation, but Bhante, we would like you to, go this part, that we could give some escort and drop you. I said, no, I would go. My teacher also was walking, was going only walking. So anyway, I went into the LTT area. I shortened the thing, and I was very lucky to meet one of their commanders, and he made a pass for me. And he told you, we'll try to give you food from the police stations of LTT, the terrorists. And so, but I must tell you, when I saw this, I didn't see them as terrorists. My mind was showing me, like, what I have practiced, the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara. If I had that feeling, I would not be going there. So, and they also felt that vibration. That is, and if you are really sincere, if you believe in your compassion and something of your letting go, you will have enough confidence to go into any situation. Today we were almost going to face something like that. Yeah, I must relate that. We were on the highway, right? So maybe he was in a hurry, of course. I mean, normally all my programs I'm getting late now. The reason is, I am not a preacher going from here to there. It's not possible with me. I had to keep my practice going, and so I don't mind because I just have to keep my practice and then touch with that, because whatever I'm giving, whatever I have practiced, I have to give only. So now we were going just now. Like he couldn't. It was so fast, and suddenly the front they were stopping. And this was, he was skinny. If you really apply, it will be another accident. So, and what was it? Then suddenly, yeah, I was there. Then actually, when in times of crisis, you get more focus. You normally go into the kind of presence of that moment, and then you just go into the letting go of things. So immediately he looked, Bhante, are you something? I said, it's okay. I also told him, what did I say? It's okay if it crash also, right? I was already ready for that. I was waiting for that. Okay, insurance they will pay, right? I hope it's insured. But it's the accident. You must insure your mind from not being disturbed. And just face it. This is the time when, that's the challenge, to use the Satipatthana, to watch the experience and to see, not to relate it, and to wait for it. Because you are trying to avoid, because you think it's you that is experiencing very much. So these things you have to really taste this, not always look at the dish. Now this is the time to eat the food now. I think always looking at. So anyway, during this LTT, when I entered there, then this commander, then I was going, and it was very difficult to quickly send the message. There was someone, I remember he was telling in their language, Tamil language, something, about the bhikshu coming, something, to the central communication, this thing. And last moment also he told, can I put you into this vehicle, please go along the road or something. I said, it's okay, this is the way I want to go, and I was going. And then I came to the checkpoint, the first checkpoint. In that first checkpoint, they took me inside. And to see, there were a lot of people, and there was this commander also there. He has gone ahead. I didn't see him. And then he told me to sit down, and he told, these are reporters. Can you please tell what is your, what's the purpose you're going this, and what is this, what is really behind this, and explain. Then I told him, I'm doing this for my heart. I don't want this to be publicized. So he appreciated that. He knew it was not for some propaganda or something, there was some that it was just a simple act of going among. So anyway, he told those people, don't trouble this monk, don't trouble him. And then I heard him telling something, vade, vade. You know, vade, they have the Indian food. I don't know whether you know, the South Indian food. They call, so he told something like this, vade, vade, something I heard. So someone went and brought some vade, something, this food. And he was about to put this food into he was going to give it to me. So I had my bowl and I got up and I opened my bowl, begging bowl. And these are military people. I remember he removed his cap and put this into the bowl. When he was putting this into the bowl, suddenly it was like, you know, I just remembered Bhante. It was very like, I don't know, I mean, how far, I see many things now. I mean, I'm sure the senior Bhantes would know that he was very strict. He would tell, especially the foreign monks, I heard, that those days not to go to foreign countries, right? And to, like, you know, there's so many distractions and knowing the danger of that. So that was, I think, maybe that period. Maybe, I don't know. But late, in the initial stages, he was actually, like, indirectly used to tell how good when you ordain and when you practice like that. And he was putting a lot of pressure for me to become a monk. And I was like, you know, I wanted to be a monk, but later I didn't want to be a monk. I want to practice. Because even Polgasdua tell honestly, I saw many monks, Silavanta and all that, everything okay. But I didn't see them practicing with, you know, I thought if I become monk, this same thing will happen to me. So I was postponing this. So one day pressure was too much for me and I just went down and I said, Bhante, I can't become a monk because monasteries are deteriorating, monks are deteriorating. Like that I told him. He looked at me and said, your consciousness is deteriorating. And he said, no, you enter the Sangha and do this practice like this. And he really gave a point there for me. So it took 3 years. After ordination, he was telling me, well, these people are waiting for you, you must help them, you must encourage. Now, this I don't want, it's recorded, no? Maybe. Wait, yeah. Because this part I don't want to tell too much. One day I want to say, you know, one parts of him that, I mean, he would have seen some karma. I don't know, I can't really say what it is, but he had different sides of him. He would be able to judge a person, the situation of his individual. I mean, in my case, I found that. I don't know, in other people, I really don't know. But I've noticed him. There are some things, when I'm talking to you all, it's coming to my picture. That I would see that he would have seen me facing this situation in his bed that time. And so one day I hope I will tell exactly what he told, not now, I think, not yet. And so this is part of with Bhante. It was very I don't know, maybe we can go for a question and then I could explain something from that. Is it okay? So yeah, I'd like to ask, maybe something you'd like to ask and then maybe I would go from that. I normally talk about, depending on time, you know, I normally talk about things that directly disturb your practice and how to practically do it. Shall I go through that? What's the time and how long have we spent already?
Yeah, we can last until 4 o'clock. And so if we want to start the question and answer, please raise your hand, and then when Bhante points out to you, I will hand you the microphone, and then you speak through the microphone so everybody will hear your question clearly. I
will quickly go through some of the things. I want to just give some things quickly, okay? Because it might be helpful. This is something I never expected to tell as a monk, you know, but when I came, I don't know, I really saw that it was very helpful for the modern people. These are like happening in our lives, so I hope I should share with you all, being a new crowd. I normally explain, like, for example, in your life, suddenly there are situations where you put yourself into mud and then washing. You put to mud and washing, okay? This happens in our lives. When I say mud, is like you do certain things which are hidden. That say in the toilet or any other place where you don't want anyone to know. Maybe with your computer, okay? whenever you are doing such a thing, what is it? It's normally the greed, hate and delusion, some strong emotions that you are activating to a certain pitch, right? You're not meditating, very rarely. Meditation is okay, you do hidden. Another thing, but any other thing with defilements, when it is happening, when you are doing, and suddenly, okay, you come for programs like this also, and go for religious things. This happens, both sides. When you notice some things like that are happening in you, you must know it is opening a certain pitch of your emotions. Corresponding to that raga, dosa, moha, greed, hate and delusion, there are certain dimensions you open up. Corresponding to that, there's lower dimensions. Okay? There are beings in those lower dimensions, they enter your system. When they enter that system, it gives a driving force for you to do sinful things. Okay, sinful means which is negative, which you don't want anyone to know. Right? So this is just to give you an idea of this mechanism. So when you know that there are two things we use to do these things. One is wrong view, and the other one is these driving forces. Wrong view is like, say, we take a beer or we take some alcohol. We would justify it. To enjoy sin, we have to, if you think it's damaging or dangerous to us, we can't enjoy that. So we have to use some idea that this is not too much dangerous, it's just going to have benefit also. Maybe you might think, my cholesterol level will go down with the whiskey or something. Okay, someone tells like that, and you stick to that idea to do these things. Now when you know that like this negative thing, when you notice in your life, suddenly you want to go to nightclub or something where you just want to, you should know, you will know after I say this, that there are some forces that are has entered your system. So when this happens, you put yourself into mud, and then you come for programs like this and washing like this kind of thing. Now when this is known like this to you, when next day the temptation comes, you feel, I must avoid this. Maybe the friend who comes, maybe you'll not open the door. You check who is this and then keep away. Second day, third day, you keep away. Then those nourishment to those beings, they don't get it. And those dimensions start to close up. Like your holes in your character gets patched up. So this is one way that you slowly keep away from this thing, but you must know graphically whenever because people who really want to strive, they have these problems. Okay? Now anything that is exciting is, you can see the brain function. That's very interesting. With the MRI scan, anything which suddenly makes you excited, dopamine is released. Right? The addiction that comes is to this dopamine. So whenever that is put out, so this is happening in so many ways in our modern world. It doesn't mean that, some things you do, they put you into jail or somewhere. No, they don't do that. But it robs your peace of mind and it creates tremendous stress. Okay? So, so when you know like this, you keep away from certain things for some days, then there's time for the brain to get repaired. And slowly you find certain meditation experiences or certain tranquility which you were missing before because of the drainage of energy. You're going to have this energy back, and certain levels of tranquility you have not experienced, you begin to experience. And when you experience this little bit more and more, it is like the opposite of this particular drain of energy. If that happens, like adrenaline is created when you have negative emotions, when you're calm also something should be created. There is something, but not in the medical science, the modern one, they know this name. It is in the Ayurveda, it is called Ojas. This Ojas, Tejas, I would call it, Ojas, it's normally opposite, of that negative hormones, which normally goes to your brain. It goes through your nerves, for example, and then the areas of the brain which was not functioning before, they start to function. And they get deposited in that. And that particular type of deposit, when it gets deposited, it starts to activate those thoughts, those spiritual thoughts or whatever that, the way of thinking that is activated. And the thoughts increase those ojas, like that, vice versa. When then you create an opposite cycle like this, then it is like removing that poisonous cycle from the system. So when it is happening a lot in you, there will be a change in your body and in your aura. Normally you will have a shine coming in your cheeks and forehead. So I normally tell, don't lose that shine. So this is very important, like don't lose that particular shine. So after that, maybe you don't have to apply what you call here, you have like Nivea, right? Nivea? You don't need to apply Nivea or anything. You'll have the charm, you'll look beautiful. Your personality will be formed. So the other way, you think you have a bath and everything and come, you're okay. It's not possible, my friends. You can't hide the damage one has done to this. But because I explained this way, in Melbourne I was explaining this, and suddenly one young boy got a temptation. You know, he wants to be a monk and everything. He suddenly was in the back of the room and he heard this. And when he was driven in the Melbourne city to do something, he remembered, oh, Bhante said there are spooks or there are ghosts who are in us to drive us to this. And he thought, no, I'm not going to do this hereafter. So actually I explained this way, not to imagine everywhere there are ghosts, so that you will notice, in case you are doing something negative, that this is true. Now, when I was being dropped in India, to the airport, there was this, when they were dropping me, one of the drivers, I thought I should share something with him. I said, don't drink too much, you must not drink bhut pret. They call the spooks bhut pret. Bhut pret will enter your body. They like the smell of alcohol. I told him like that. Then he said, no, Swamiji. They call me Swamiji there. No, I don't drink. But once a month I drink beer, one beer, he said. Then I said, I think you have a baby bhut pret, baby ghost. Yes. So just, if you're addicted to something, you're driven by this thing, this is some way to look at the thing, okay? So the other thing I noticed was that I had an experience with certain like rishis or some people who have some samadhi power. So he had the ability, like behind you there are like unseen forces that come, that he was able to sort of bring in these unseen forces that come behind you and sort of make them confess what's going on. So once I saw him doing this, one mother came with a child who was like, going for parties, and he was doing many things that the mother was worried, no studies, nothing. So suddenly I saw him, coming into this thing, and suddenly this boy was unconscious, and someone else was talking through him. And in this thing, he was like this, he was making a funny noise, and they said, who are you? He said what is this? Spirit, what was it? Snake spirit or something. And he asked, when did you come? When he was 13 years old. This body was 13 years old, I entered this body. Then he asked, how did you come? When he was playing games. When I heard playing games, I was surprised. How is related to that with this? But later I understood, games in computers, right? I understood that now, for example, when we have a positive thought of like metta and all that, okay, and we get like spreading it to all the world, it creates a consciousness. What do you call it? Is a low consciousness or a high consciousness? High consciousness. So if you die at that time, you can go to a higher plane, and you come in. There's a possibility of coming in contact with higher beings. Say you say kill, fight or something, anything that makes you like Now I heard games also, there are no kills, but they give bonus for something, no? Like suddenly, I don't know what is happening, but I only know this damage is happening. This something where it excites you suddenly. Then what happens? I don't know whether you know about that. They have very well found in Oxford University, this research, that dopamine is released equal to a heroin addict. You know this, no? I hope. Of a heroin addict, how the brain is happening, working, the dopamine, the way how it is, these things equal in the addiction to games, how it is happening. So just imagine, then you can understand the spooks and all that, and also, so the medical science of, how the brain is functioning is very interesting, it's very helpful to understand. So this is, I saw this in another place, this certain spirit said, from Facebook it entered this body. Now, I don't know how to go to this, because I don't know what Facebook is, okay? But I know this happened, these people said, now the computer is not, it's a neutral thing, it's a technology in the Kama Loka, sensual world, okay? Because somebody, I am not telling it definition in a proper way, someone told me once with a cell phone in Kathmandu, Bante, you can do anything with this cell phone. I said, yes, in the material world, yes. You don't get a message from Brahmaloka or something from the cell phone. Yeah, it's correct that way. So you have to place it where it works. So the computer, it has its function. It's called information technology. But the thing is, it is like, it depends what you use. You have a vehicle, you can go to a nightclub with a vehicle, and you can also come to a program like this. So the problem is, this is used by an enlightened mind. So if you have these germs and this certain mind that is still not developed yet, there are chances, the opportunity that will drive, this will be an opportunity for you to easily to put germs into the unhealed wound, with the defilements. So but now today we can't say for people not to use computers. It's not practical. But to make the people aware of what is going on is important. I think especially the younger people, this should be done. So, and also show the positive side of it. If you keep away, and I have another nice interesting one to add to this particular explanation. So with the computers, okay, with the Facebook, I don't know what is, because anywhere you find there's a lot of greed, hate, delusion activated. You should know it's a dangerous thing here. There's something wrong happening to me, and you want to always do it again and again. Surely you're addicted, and you have a special type of spirit in you also want to enjoy that. So it may be anything, I don't know. So you have to find out. You are in that, mostly in that world. So this is something, what else I could explain? Yeah, there's another one I normally talk about for especially modern people. I don't know whether, well, I go for a question and then we'll see. No, Bante? Yes. Which, okay.
Bante, I'm a parent. I have an 18-year-old, and I didn't know like how powerful they are, and this has been for our decade, and my son is good in all the studies, so I don't have any complaints. He's a responsible person, but they are addicted at the moment.
I understand.
So as a parent, I ask that how can I maintain the equanimity?
I can tell that
instead of having anger.
I understand. My brother too. I mean, he's recorded. Can't help it. I mean, even now he's married and he's hooked to games. Okay, even my parents, I mean, the wife is telling me to do some miracle to this thing. But I will tell you, don't worry about it. Good question. I mean, I have explained these things, but there's a way out of this. Okay? You see, I explained this so many times now. For example, you're with the family and so on. You want to change them, to make a change in them. Now, you know these are damaging and all that. But you know, in the flight normally, when you go, like the attendant, they explain about the oxygen, how to be used. What do they say who have kids? First put the oxygen to you and then make sure you give the oxygen to the child. So there's something like this. If you save yourself from this, when you're making one by one changes in your life, otherwise, if you don't make a change, there's no force, you can't do anything. You worry about it also, and also it is going to be solved. I know parents who have drug addicts, children, they are not coming. Now, that mother I know very well. So what she did was, what can she do? She took the 8 precepts. She practiced herself and sort of focused. Then what happened? The child, after 1 day, 2 days, 7th day, the child is coming. Where's mama? Where's mama? Where's mama? Now, I also tell another one, okay? Now, I'm telling for monks as well as for you now how we are going to make an impact on the people. So once in Sri Lanka, they used to ask me, Bante, there are so many teachings in Sri Lanka, people preaching here, there, but nobody is changing. But I remember something what Bante told, written one article, how to revive the sasana. That was a very nice point, how to revive meditation. the main thing, and then how this is, I mean, long years ago, I remember, actually when I was a very small kid, my mother used to read Bante's books about Paticcasamuppada and so on. And I was a small kid, I remember she had the book, we were in Lesotho and so on. So, but then in Sri Lanka, there were all these teaching, so many things. One person asked me this question. Now, I had no answer for this particular, at that time. Then when I was going later, I did get the answer. The people who are preaching, who are delivering this, they are not pure themselves. If that purity is there, there will be a mystical force that goes. Now there are like some monks who made impact, like Somahandra we have, he was there for 6 years, but people who were drinking, they stopped. They were like, one by one, it was making impact on the people. But we know he was at Vajirarama, actually he was like also very senior monk there, but we never knew he'd become so famous and he'll make an impact. And but he looked so pious. From those days to meditate, we should see him going on walking meditation in Vajirarama, in the monastery in Colombo. It was not really a meditation place when we were there, it was more like a temple. So anyway, you can see he was in the jungle one time, then coming, like he was doing these practices, he was involved in society, but you could see him, if you look at his background, so you create a certain power, a force. So now, if you want to, now I know another story, if you want to change your child, don't change the child, you change yourself. Understand? Like, this will have a force. So I remember another, now it's boring for people who have gone to other programs. I don't know how many of them are there. And I'll tell, this is a big crowd of who have not come before. Have you heard of Vivekananda Swami? He made a big impact in 1895 in the Parliament of Religions in Chicago, I think. So there, he was someone, who is very interesting. He was very young and he made an impact and he had a short life also. So once I heard one story where someone, one mother brought the child because he was addicted to sugar and sweets and he was a little fat and he wanted the Swami to do something. He said, Swamiji, can you give him some advice so he can overcome his habit of sugar eating and like this? Can you give him a mantra? So the Swamiji told, after 10 days you come, okay? And then, so the mother came after 10 days. And the Swamiji looked at the boy and said, son, hereafter don't eat any sugar, don't take any sweets. And then the mother looked, where's the mantra? He said, Swamiji, what about the mantra? He said, no mantra, this instruction I tell him. Then he said, why, you should have told this 10 days back. He said, no, 10 days ago I was eating sugar myself. Last 10 days I stopped eating sugar. So this is very important. I think this is some secret. Don't worry about it. You do some change, something one by one, some force will go. Your very presence will change this atmosphere around you. Your very attachment is also, I'm not telling, I never had the experience of being a father or mother, but I think it's a strong attachment. But if I was a father, I don't know how I will do. But it's nice to, I know some wives who change the husband, very interesting. That's also by, they didn't sort of tell them or try to go and tell, do this, do that and all that. They just ignored it and just purified themselves and came to peace. You see, that is unnatural. Normally nature is to react. If you don't react and if you are calming down, it upsets, it creates miracles around you. Understand? So I hope that is answer, okay? I'm not used to giving short answers, so this be.
Bhante, I have a question about when you are hit with an adversity or a negative effect, how quickly you can reach that equanimity state? What is the technique to receive that, get to that equanimity state so that you will not be affected?
Like if you're faced with a challenge, you mean?
Yes.
If you're suddenly faced, normally habit works. So it's better, I always tell, prevention is better than cure. Better have a daily practice. Daily practice of feeling the moment and so on. Okay? Where always that habit will work. So when you're driving the car, when you're doing all these things, now I was a good driving instructor in England, UK, because many of them, while I'm going the vehicle, that's a chance for them, like they feel, now here is only one person very much in this state, he's taking me, but they are, of course, only one trip, they drop, another person takes over. So some of them, they just want to, they're also very interested in the Dhamma, they have been practicing long time. So they just want to get something quickly, so they start talking. They slowly, they have told that Bhante doesn't talk while he's going. So, but they say, Bhante, is it okay I talk to you a little bit? And then of course I say, okay. and then they used to get into a conversation, ask this or that, so on. So one day he asked, then one person I noticed that he was asking, then he wanted to know how to practice while doing the work. So I couldn't, like give him, then I thought I should always explaining not right, I will demonstrate right now. So I said, my friend, let me try to meditate now. So I told him, just feel the steering wheel you're holding, the leather. Just feel the feet touching the ground. Just feel it very much. And just notice that you look at the road, of course, but just get that feeling, the simple observation. Because you have that energy part of your consciousness. Now you are at the stress part of your consciousness, like a superficial area, okay? When you can focus on one thing for some time, it starts from the bodily contact or bodily area of awareness. You see, you gather, now this is very known in studies now, they call it now stress busting something, stress busting techniques, just be mindful of your immediate toe wiggling, and this is a very nice study by one doctor, by microbiologist. Stress busters means what? It's actually, so it's very interesting. If you pay attention to the moment for the body, or this simple attention is going to take away the stress mind. Now that is only one is practice. There are 3 more. This called, normally this is related close to Iriyapate, paying attention to the bodily area. Then you have Indriya Samvara. Now this is what I'm telling you, addictions and all that. People think only paying attention. Now I don't want to reveal like this because maybe the Buddha's teaching, it shows the exact other parts where you can activate that peaceful mind and energy mind. Indriya Samvara is the other one. And the other one is Bhojana Matanyu. It's called, no Bhante?
Yeah, I think some of the people here don't know Pali words.
Okay. Indriya Samvara means sense restraint, sense restraint, and Bhojana Matanyu means, actually it is, the way I understand is controlling the tasting of the food, not simply limiting the food also, it's known. And Jagrita and Yoga means like, before sleeping, lying down, you purify your mind and lay down consciously and so on. And I'm very frightened to explain these things now in front of Bhante. They are great scholars, and I am like a worker but they're so nice. I mean, I know that. Anyway, these are other 4. That's why I explained now stress busting is only not done by that. Mindfulness, you can start that, you'll find. So when I taught them, when I told this gentleman, just feel the steering wheel and so on, I saw he was quiet, he was silent. So suddenly he was silent, and I kept quiet, I didn't explain much. And until the end of the journey he was silent. And then he told me, Bhante, I never experienced this much peace. And I wish you were always next to me, he was telling me like this. Of course he had to drop me after that. So this is one practice, and this was going on with other drivers. They used to tell me, Bhante, I will feel the journey, 4 hours, because you touch the equanimous state of mind. That equanimity when you are tasting more, that's what we call peace. And you just that monotonous, it looks monotonous thing of just feeling and observing but paying attention, but it builds up mental energy. And sometimes when you're catching a train, just feeling the feet touching while you're going, you note the train, which train this thing to catch, which, compartment. But then you come to the present moment and tell your mind, don't know this distance I must walk without stress. You command it. Let me check whether I'm tight and going. Let me stop, slow down, just like that. So you have to command, and then it becomes a counter habit. You understand? And then in your daily activity, now I'm telling this, it's a long answer for this thing. I'm talking about you better start this practice because habit will work. What will happen if I just don't tell this and you immediately go, what will happen will be, you get frightened, that's all. Now how to get frightened? You have to create another habit in your daily practice. The greatest shock will be the moment of death. So you can't meditate only last moment. This is no crash program. Just before you die, let me meditate a little bit. You see, this is what you do daily. Better we already ready, think after a few hours we are going to die. And then we are ready for it. So that, so this, and you learn to enjoy peace of mind, not just fleeting pleasures. So you replace that peace of mind more. So in your daily, when you're doing the work, so the other one is Indriya Sangvara. Now this is not, Indriya Sangvara, the way I would practice now, you can look at my eyes for example. Now I look focused, right? Now how do I look now? Do I look focused? Do I? And look at my eyes? Now? Yes. So this not to get focused. Like for example, you cross a road. When you're crossing a road, you see vehicles going up and down. You have to check. But you don't look who is inside the vehicle. This kind of screening, this is very important. Like when you're walking around the pedestrian or pathway, you see 2 or 3 people coming, but you will not recognize who they are. So this is something, I think as a yogi, if you want to get that mental strength, you have to, this is one of the, especially in a busy place, this is to be practiced. So these are basic practices, this is minor, the foundation practices. If you're daily doing now, even when you're doing these things, it becomes habit, and you will gather. When you sit down for meditation, you will have less monkey mind also. The monkey mind comes because of the lack of sense restraint.
So you focus when you are in the people, you don't see
like no details. Now when I look, I can't recognize you. Okay. Now when I look, I do recognize you. So it needs little bit, you don't notice. So now normally I got used to so much noticing properly. So this is a bit other way around. So we'll see how it is done slowly. These are Ganaka Muggala, these are suttas are there in the middle and discourse. But, the modern day they are appreciating more about mindfulness only. But there are other, because lack of samadhi, having so many thoughts only causing stress and all that. So mindfulness is one only. You have other iriya, they are all interrelated also. To be sense restrained, you need mindfulness there also. The mindfulness cannot be isolated and taken out. So these are operating in all other activities also. So if you're practicing, you get to know they are interrelated, but there's other parts, sense restraint. These addictions, if you're a lay person, these are all draining the energy. So, and we have 2 parts of our brain, the reptilian brain and the special brain that we think and analyze. So normally we must check, very interesting, when we take when you look at a food or anything, the reptilian brain is working. And the very, so I don't think when we have to have that thought, and if we die, where will we go? When you have an animal, if you think of rebirth, if you have any idea about it, do you all have, but do they have idea of rebirth? And so if you, otherwise a good book will be Edgar Cayce, Many Mansions, it's very interesting. But say, so very, you can see what state you can be if you are at a peaceful state, then the special brain is working. You think and analyze and the meditation is done. There's another interesting point about that, but another question. Now, I told you, if you prepare yourself like this, practice is better now, so you can start today itself. And you will see, if you're cool most of the time, coolness will come there. But I have another quick crash program things also. Okay? Like in the forest when I'm really weak and so on. Like if you picture the Buddha is standing next to you, it has a big difference. It makes an effect. Suddenly like the Buddha is standing next to you. Like people who are going for exams, I tell children and so on. Like sometimes in the jungle when I was unmindful means I had to go do physical lot of going. And there, when I thought of him, but through the Dhamma also I thought now the robes are from him. The rules are, when I'm practicing, he's there in the rules. And when I'm following that. Look, you can look like this. If the Buddha is there next to you, say for example you, somewhere you want to, say you're faced with the insurance people, okay? And you are trying to get a claim. And maybe you want to lie to claim something. I don't know how far this is happening here. And you have to tell something which is not really true, otherwise they will not give you your this thing. Say, while you are going to say that, if Buddha was standing next to you, how will you do? You will give up all that material interest and want to inspire him, right? Make him. So when you are practicing, in other words, Buddha is there. When you are not, that means you must have faith. You are not going against your conscience. So when you are, so these are practical. You will find when you are practicing, he's live. He's becoming live there, in a certain form. But this, when you are even, because this will lead you to tranquility and lead you to actually experiencing the Dhamma. Then you will actually see him. See means understanding. You will have no doubt about him. It's not some visual thing. So these things I think. Another thing, if you have really some crisis, irrespective of any religion, very nice is to place your attention to the present moment. Just feel what is going on. Just be in that moment. I know one gentleman in Sri Lanka. I used to talk about it when I was doing a job. He was a Christian, and he was like, so I just told him the power of staying in the present moment. I used to explain to him sometimes, like the past things, now what you experience up till now, how it's all gone, it's no more. And even now, this is what you are seeing now and hearing, just feel it properly. And this is all, like that's something I used to explain those days. And one day he only comes to office where I was working, only he's not worshipping me. He was like, Shanaka, Shanaka. He was asking, I was saying, what happened? He said, you know what happened? I was, my father told me yesterday to pick up some guest from the airport. And I was a little bit late, and then when I was going, suddenly I got caught to a traffic block. And then I know they're already there now, and I'm already late. And I was like frozen, I couldn't do anything. I just like stuck with that shock. Then I remembered you, he said, suddenly that you told like that the future has not come yet. And the past, these are just, my father, that's memory. It has no existence, reality. And just let me feel what I'm going through now. And when I did that, my thoughts start to work, my brain start to work. So yeah, this all is very powerful all the time. It's a kind of mindfulness. That's another question, I think. No, I think this young man. Okay.
Hello, Bhante. First of all, as someone who was previously, when I was young, addicted to video games, I think what you said about if you want to change your child, first change yourself was very accurate. I want to ask actually two questions, if I may. First, as someone coming from an atheist family and who was very skeptical for Buddhism as well, I want to ask, how do you or would you approach someone when you see someone having addictions? We can give an example of video games. How do you or would you approach them? Do you even mention about Buddhism, or do you give any recommendations to them, or don't do anything actively? At
least if they believe in science, for example, dopamine and all that, is not with any religion. Okay, it's a factual finding. So that is also helpful in that approach, from giving that scientific this thing. But sometimes you're very free from being free from addiction. You may not even explain. You will create a certain energy that part of their brain and that system in them might be affected in the positive way. You understand? And the other thing is, you must see why you have the desire to change these people. You want to help this person. If you have a personal interest, that means you have attachment to this person. So better one remove your attachment or personal interest to help someone also. You get it? There you will generate more energy, certain special power. Detachment has always some power. Why? You are addicted to illusion still, feeling this person is real. Like you don't have still understanding of consciousness. Right? So when you are in the idea of that this is like a person I'm meeting and I am there, he's there, you're still in another level of addiction. So we must always see we are not perfect yet. So when we pursue the path of really becoming enlightened step by step, and then we see we are not even concerned or worried also again. We have metta, it's unconditional. It's not having two persons or community, nothing like that. So one learns to pursue that, and it will give you the answer. When you meet the person, it will just come out, any person. Because out of your purity and this thing. Did you get an answer?
Thank you, thank you. And my second question was, as you said, with addictions, like for example, again the example of video games, the Western science observes the effects of dopamine, the levels, and you compared it with heroin addiction.
Yes, yes.
Is there a research for the opposite? For example, the effects of cleaning of a place like this?
The mind, you mean? Cleaning this, sorry?
You said on the opposite, when you spend time at a place like a temple, which does the opposite effect.
Yeah, yeah, it can be measured, you mean, by scientific?
Yes, is there such a research
I think
for
from
measurement?
some Tibetan monks, they have done some ECG and things like that, I think. I have not gone into it really. I'm sure, I wish they would do that. It will be very, but the problem is sometimes the change is fine, so fine, you know, a certain finer part of your nerves, like you look even clinically dead sometimes. When you're in certain levels of samadhi, you might be in a sort of, so that cannot be measured sometimes. Only you can, I don't know how to measure that. You can see sometimes effect, you know, like you're not feeling the cold, the heat, like temperature, how that is withstand. How can you withstand that unless there's some, you know, really, so maybe that time you can use these instruments and check. I got to know, someone told me, a nutritional expert, 2 programs back, that they had a sort of research. It is well known that, what was it? If you keep away, like, you know, like you give some nutrients to the body without any taste or anything. Like, you know, but it gives you, without, like you're fasting, but without losing the nutrients. Say you put saline or something, okay? So they did this to a certain person, and they found that, like normally some sugar or something is used for, what was it now? He told something like there was this positive effect. I can't remember. I unfortunately don't have a good memory as Bhante's, you know. And that is something, just fight some time ago. Yeah, I was really surprised, you know, really. Of course, I really forgot how we met with my mother in Kandy. I couldn't remember that until now. I did come for 2 lectures. You know, I'm really amazed. That's another best thing is to study Bhante. You know, you can, of course, don't trouble him at this stage. How the mind, the brain works in, you know, that when you keep away a long time in all this and keep yourself in the teachings of the Buddha especially. That is a very, it could have a, I don't think you can measure, and we are bringing it to a very, like we are measuring God, you know. You understand? Like we are measuring the respect, the divinity, you know, there's a certain protocol for that. I mean, you don't have to, if someone has to be so much convinced, I mean, no need to teach him, you understand? Better to have some real wanting to know truth. And, but it's interesting for me also, I'm always thinking how, because it shows clearly also. Another one I must tell you regarding, you know, like in the Buddha's teaching, we have grave offense in the Vinaya, you know, the rules of the monks. This is very interesting also. There we have minor offense and grave offense. Now for me it was very interesting. In the grave offense section we have like the 4 which we break, we have to disrobe. And there are 13 which are like we can recover, you know, like we have a process of purification and so on. So in the first 2 of the rules, when you're going through the experience of that particular, to break the rule, the experience, the way the brain works is very interesting. That means it's connected with sexual experience. So normally I explain it like, without controlling these 2, nothing happens. I call this the tongue and the sexual, you know, aspect. So now both of them are connected with the reptilian brain. So they look also the same, you know, a lot of nerves and so on. So now in that second part of the, first or second, I can't, yeah. This one, it is a kind of the experience, a peak experience of the sexual activity. Then how the MRI scan shows the reptilian brain. It's very interesting. It is said that the reptilian brain takes over the entire brain. The other part gets completely shut down. So I was really fascinated. Look how the Buddha would have seen. I mean, how he made those categories also. And that time, some of these things that happened, it was after 20 years he laid down these rules. It was not happening among the community first 20 years. And is it correct, Bhante? And after that, slowly he started, and then he laid down these rules. And then, that time in the society, we can imagine, it was few people this was happening. But today, it's difficult to find who are not formed into habits of doing or happening these things at that level. It's difficult to find who is not doing. So now, then I was thinking, now this has to be explained in the modern day, in this modern period, if especially the age of 14, 15 for children, and even some after 40, 50, 60, because this has been habits not known. So I see that any perversion in the sensual, the thing is always without the purpose of it. Now in my case, now always I tell also, marriage is like becoming a monk. You stick to one person, how boring that person is, you just stick to that person, and then that helps you like a protection. It makes you to keep away from, getting distracted by something else. And which is, almost most of the time, this just creates a karmic chain reaction. It just goes on and on. And then at the age of 80 also, you're thinking of this, maybe a marriage at that time. So it just, to purify this perception. So this is there's a way of practice. So now, normally I found that, when you know about this, so some of these things, that's why I told, like, you keep away. So one occasion I never forget, there was this, they were told about this book that written about even who are married. I tell them, this is a good opportunity for you to sort of restrain, to elevate yourself to a higher plane by practicing. So, but there should be an understanding, when you're doing these practices, it should create harmony around the people around you. Because you're a meditator, it doesn't mean it creates suffering in others. And they will, that needs certain skill, where you learn to understand the surroundings and try to harmonize with them, and to be, honest, what you're doing is actually sincere, and so on. I don't want to, it's a little bit long if I explain about those aspects, but any other thing, I think is okay, eh? There's this young man waiting to see you, right? Okay. There's okay, there, that lady there.
Bhante, I don't have I have many questions, but I will spare you. I won't ask a question. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for traveling here and speaking. Personally, I'm sure everyone here appreciates you coming, but I personally especially appreciate it because I was introduced to the path. I was actually pulled onto the path in what I can only say is a very supernatural way. And I have experienced mystical force, and I've experienced things that if I tell people, they either think I'm crazy or I'm making it up. And as much as I appreciate these good past parmis, that must be the reason why this is happening for me, I also feel lonely sometimes and confused. And it's very rare that a Bhante will reveal or even approach these topics. And I really just wanted to tell you that I really am grateful. Thank you.
I come from like a not traditional way. I bring in any kind of knowledge. This has been my way. And it's also for practical purpose also. That will, now you might remember me when you're going, suddenly you find distracted, you get this thing, because this is all what I did it for myself. The way now some might think, Bhante, now there he's just telling that, maybe he's thinking of our mind and telling. No, this all happened to me. And then I found this way of approach, looking at it, like even about the ghost and things like that. It was helpful for me. I wish someone told me this kind of teaching some more younger period. Because even my senior Bantes like Jnana Vimala Bante, German monk, the Bante, they didn't have the troubles we were having. They were much more advanced, I think. And so, but we had to work with a lot of, things, so then certain addictions and so on. So, yeah. And there are other things I could now, but I like to come to from the supernatural to something very practical also. I want to cover that. This young boy also. Is that all? You'd like have a question, or you didn't have a question, eh? This young man, you want to ask, right?
No, thank you. It's already answered.
It's already answered. Okay, it's already answered. All right. So, so the other thing. Okay, I must come to this quickly because I don't want to take a lot of time. The idea of how the self comes, Now, when you read a sutta, how I would like this practical way to get this this practice, and like sometimes when you read a sutta and like you must allow that to bake in your head. It must allow the idea to bake and sort of get. Anyone else? Any question you had? Okay. Maybe.
Bante, there's one more.
Okay, right.
Thank you as well. I would like to personally thank you as well for traveling here. Earlier, you said that you were going to speak about something again, and I wrote it down so that I'd remember to tell you. Sometime in the beginning, you said that when you look at a past stress and you realize that it's not there, that it's like it's solved.
Stress, sorry?
Yeah, if you look at something from the past, like a stress.
Yeah, okay.
And then you realize that it's not there, and in that way it's solved.
Mm-hmm.
This last week, a group of us here have been at a meditation.
Yes.
And we've been practicing, may I be free from anxiety, may I be free from animosity.
Yes.
And I see that as like anxiety is looking at the future, animosity is remembering the past and having guilt or grief.
Yeah. The thing is, now the way you look at the past is like, really the solution for this will be when there's wisdom about it. Now normally many people think like overcoming anger and all these things is compassion, meditation of compassion. But the way I understand is that the way a person gets angry or feel irritated or worried, you can know his desires. When you remove desires, anger automatically doesn't come in you. Because when there's a lot of desires, the desire takes away your energy. And when you have no energy, you need energy to go inside. When you can't go inside, is always cool. Further inside is always that cool pond is there. Some people also think we settle this problem, that problem, and then we'll be at peace. They don't know the peace is already there. That has to be focused and got that, and then those things will be there. Unfortunately, because of our unenlightened mind, we are trying to find peace where there is actually, in the illusion, I would say. So, in a dream. So, but when you go into sort of even samadhi or a little bit of that, because disturbance mostly come from the five senses, five sensual objects, even the memories and all that, right? All these certain, so normally, when you get an understanding, a realization about it, for example, say, okay, someone shouted at you, okay? Something you remember insulting you or something. So you go back to that memory of it, and you remember, it was a moment of consciousness, okay? You can't get irritated by an empty thing. It was somebody means you recognize somebody. You were conscious from your eyes or ears, okay? You had a feeling, then you perceived it as John or somebody, okay? Good John or bad John, I don't know. It's maybe bad John, all right? So when you perceive like that and you reacted, sankara, this happens simultaneously, but the way I always tell, if you explain these parts too much, it shows that one has not realized it. These some things you can't, really, it is like just a pointer. I would say a sutta is like a pointer, but just an idea. Now even Bhante, when I used to meet him, he used to just say to read this sutta, this, this. He would not explain much, but the way he would tell you to go through certain sutta, this thing, he was leading you to a kind of a vision. So anyway, when you look back to that, you go back and check. You just remind this how it was eye consciousness. With the eye consciousness, you had this perception. You had this thing. Then how it was there that time and it's gone. It's a vague. You just study this, notice this, how it rose and passed away. It become impersonal to you. And you begin to see that without that you don't get the sense of I. The sense of I comes, it doesn't come to empty things. To get the sense of I, mostly it comes in a gross way to the feelings, perceptions, to the mental factors of consciousness. Okay? So when you see that, when you get the misunderstanding removed more and more, if you had a problem with it, it doesn't become a problem. Because you don't see a person, you or another person, it happening. You get this? That is a more solid way, because then, you're not trying to push aside that. You try to see its true nature. And you see it as Rupa, Vedana. So in the suttas, in the Skandha Vagga, you have, Buddha puts you to an exercise of looking at the past. If any Vedana Sanya rose, how it rose and passed away. If it comes in the future, it will rise and pass away. Then what to say about the present. These exercises you must do. When you do it, so it slowly starts to activate that wisdom brain. It should be slowly done, like you should feel the present moment and settle down with those words. Because some of them were told when the monks were mature. They were ripe, maybe after 10 years, 20 years. But Buddha had the vision to see that they were ripe. So now we prematurely sometimes get this. So don't leave it aside. Do the practice daily and then go through this again. Now I suggest Word of the Buddha, Gnanaloka Thero. It's a nice handy book. I mean, I remember it made Bhante from a Hindu yogi to when he first got Buddhism. It was in that intern camp in Dehradun with Gnanaloka Thero, where this was the first book. It is like a very nice handy book. You can go through that and sort of apply. And Middle and Discourse, Bhante, I recommend your book sometime, Middle and Discourses by Bhikkhu Bhamati. I feel so funny I'm here, Really. This normally the way I would give. This is my main, I call the GPS when I hand over. At the end of the program, I come to this slowly. Because I see this is the way. Because now there are many teachings where the people will explain. Now someone will think to just go through my YouTube or to go to another YouTube or listen to a monk. We don't know how much they have realized. Who knows? So if they are sincere, this is Bhante's words, he used to tell, if they are sincere, they will direct you to the suttas. Because we know the Buddha is enlightened, sure. If someone is explaining, gone to my understanding, he has not really got an experience from it. If he got an experience, he would tell, this is my explanation, but please go through this, go through that. You will see Buddha in these words, that is a live thing. And this is something, this is my main mission, I would say, where to make it really practice it, and also to refer to the suttas and some striking ones to separate them and just repeat it. And it could be a verse where this insight could get triggered. You must not think that maybe the translation is not enough or something, no. This is more than enough. It's only that we have to settle down. You must get that, because normally the 5 hindrances have to be absent for that intuitive part of the brain to start functioning. This is normally explained like a bowl. If you have full of dye in the water, you can't see properly your reflection. If you have water bubbling, then also dye is like sensual desires. The bubbling water is like heat or anger. So like that is the reptilian brain again. So if more that reptilian brain is functioning, you don't get that. So more you are not allowing it to work, you create the suitable mental foundation for that to be an experiential one. And for sure you are knocking at the door. The door will open any time then. The insight will trigger. It could be the simplest verse. The one particular like Jati Pacha Jara Marana. It could be that particular link. At that time it was ye dhamma hetu pabhava. That is, anything that, any phenomena that arises by ye dhamma, by causes. Just this telling like that, it didn't explain ignorance is the cause of what is this sankara, like this. It didn't go on. So it could be any one link that could, because just to know there is a conditioned thing that triggers the impermanent realization. Now I don't want to explain also that, but it's good to meditate, then read. Metta meditation and Buddha qualities maybe, metta, and then little reading the suttas. That is panya. So when you do in mixture like that, surely something should happen. Not only the sitting meditation, when you're going in your vehicle, every situation, when you're doing the work without feeling tired, you have meditated and done it. If you feel tired, you have not done. You must learn to do the work mechanically. Because it's not that you have a lot of work and that's why you can't meditate. It's because you have not opened up that cool part of your brain. The brain has too much potential. You have not opened up that part. If it is opened up, then, so the last part I would, I don't want to take more time. Bhante, is it okay? And just I normally demonstrate something, but I don't know how Bhante will, because I make it very, I have so many ways I just put in. Sometimes I just created while I'm going on this trip also to make it a little bit graphic. I don't know whether I should do it here. Is it okay, sir? Okay. Do you have a scissor here? I mean, yes, sir. Okay, yes, please. This was a new invention while I was coming, this shape. But I need someone's hair donation. Is it okay? Does anyone? Okay, you can come. You have a good style, and I'll be disturbing that. Can you little go down? I can. Let's say here. How much you feel this is is yours? You feel it like you?
No.
No, you must tell honestly. I
feel like you're tugging it.
Yeah.
That you're pulling.
Yeah.
I feel that.
That is you. Your hair, right? Isn't it? No, just tell honestly what you feel immediately. I just want to, what you really feel, you tell. I'm not testing you anything, just a small thing I want to show.
It's hair, but...
What you really feel.
It could be I feel that you're pulling it.
And I feel, okay? And that means I feel means it's my hair, okay?
Yeah.
Right? Don't worry, nobody sees that. That this how much you feel is you. Do you feel as much as that, or what do you feel now, this part separate?
Like it's not me.
Okay, take a seat. Good, thank you. So, can you keep this? Just imagine, it was, it so quickly it became not like me. And it just because it was in this space, you get that it's a sense of me. It is not actually, you can see how much we, because this scissor must be in our mind, where we separate from the conceptualizing. We see how the conceptualizing takes place. For that we need to sort of really now say we have urine inside our bladder. Then when it goes to the toilet, when it mingles with the water, it becomes one. Right? I mean, it was all the time not yours. It was not yours all the time. That's why when you begin to know this more and more clearly, You see, more and more you separate and you see the concept of I, how it comes. It's not something that is there. That's why if you reach that particular thing there, you'll find you were never born. You're going to die. Because you is not that dies. So, but to get to that awareness, it has to be perceived slowly. Slowly, that's why when you, like, the hardness here is the same. So it needs some silencing and it needs, when you read the sutta there, when he says that there's no person, no self, that has to be pondered on and sort of be there, where you're trying to show the actuality or reality of this thing. And if you're really seeing it, you will see that it's just the same. It's trying to remove you from the sense of I, which is an illusion. Now there's another place where the question is asked sometimes, like the Tathagata, whether the Tathagata, when he passes away, he completely disappears, or he stays forever, or Tathagata means the Buddha, right? Is how when he refers to himself, says that both happens. He live forever and not live, and these are 4 views, and both not happen. 4 types of possible views you can get. So Buddha shows that all these views come associating a body, feeling, perception, and consciousness, the factors of consciousness and the body, associating this idea of sense. So he shows, I have shown a way to see this. You check your own body. The body, is it permanent or impermanent? He says, nityang va anityang vati. Then if they were really contemplating, there's no body that was there that didn't finish, even if you look at it in terms of time. But that is not the real impermanence to be known, but it takes you slowly to that. So then if you answer the Buddha, you will say definitely it's impermanent. Yampana nityang dukkang vatam sukhang vati. What is impermanent? It is happiness or sadness. Now even if you have any good experience, the more the great the experience, because it's impermanent, the suffering will be more. The suffering as it is suffering, but when a pressure comes, because it's with impermanence, it's like a boxing match in the ring, You fight, beginning you give good shots to the person, but the end you get a knockout shot. If you're destined to have a knockout shot in the end, you're a loser from the beginning. So same way, when you have this particular, in our life, every feeling is pressure, whatever it may be, because it's going to finish, is suffering. So it's a suffering all the way. So definitely we'll answer the Buddha's suffering. Yampana nityang dukkang viparinama dhammang. What is impermanent, suffering, subjected to change, which has that nature. Can you call it, this is me, this is myself? No hetam bante, no. So while the Buddha is alive also, there's no person to be found as the Buddha, right? So then you can see what to say about when something dies and so on. So immediately, that's why I say it's nice to clear when you get more enlightened, awakened about this experience, who you are, where is you, and so on. All what connected with the past or any anticipation for the future, all drops off. You're at peace. This is something I think is worth to pursue. And it's like awakening from a nightmare, a dream. But nice to be awake and be in the dream. You're not worried with those ghosts and goblins. So, yes.
So again, Bhante, like you mentioned about wonderful thing how to study the sutta and practice it. So we
just 1 minute. Just before you go, just stand a little bit. I just want to give some small thing, okay? Just wait there. Don't worry. Wait. With all respects to Bhante, just I normally do it. I never like to be with senior monks, But something I want to give before you all go. Dharma Sakti Shanti Mahatami Mahaguna Shakti Ashirvad Vahansake Mahakaruna Guni Tunloka Satyata Sadisavata Petilandapena. So wish you good luck. Okay. End of the program I will give you something, okay, but they are going, so you can go. It's okay.
Bhante, you suggested wonderfully that about how to study sutta, because with all respect, sometimes I study sutta and I find it sometimes too easy or not interesting, and just skip or just scan the meaning, because sometimes suttas are just intellectually just pick up, okay, easy, or you understand it. But as you mentioned that sometime in the practice, when you go through some experiences, then they make that similes, they just completely stand out. They become like insight, and they become part of you. And rather, your insight, you can relate to those similes. Became very alive for you. Now, regarding your suggestion about this, intellectually, we all understand this is not me, not mine, not myself, and as you demonstrated, how to again put into meditative practice, because when we are in we get into certain type of concentration, we are in tranquility state, but like your sutta is come out of it, then you study the sutta, and then slowly. But how about this experience is introduced into the practice?
I think when you're practicing the samadhi, you must separately do it and get fully mastery of it. Don't mix it with any other thing. Like you have, normally my own practice, we have like to give some inspiration, some Buddha's qualities or something, some bodhisattvas. I have so many ways of inspiring. I don't want to tell people, will be little, because I don't know how to say. Ancient saints inspire me, different things, even from Christian tradition. All sort of, even I find some of them are it's a very interesting thing. Have you heard of, sometimes the bodhisattva story is very similar, even the Muslim. Have you heard of Joseph? Yusuf they call, okay. It's very surprising, the compassion, the wisdom. It's like a story of a Buddha's past life. Now this is how I relate to so many other things like that. I take it from qualities, not from something from that country. It doesn't work in my head. It I should feel. If there's compassion in that spirituality is there. And if there is any renunciation, detachment, any wisdom. But then I also see the distinction of this wisdom of the Buddha, which he called, now the impermanence is not just impermanence of the sensual world. It is the universal impermanence. Even of higher states of consciousness. Now even the peacefulness. Now I see many other teachings also, they do talk of the, the illusionary nature of the five sensorial experiences, in the memories of that and so on. But I see it like a screen, for example. They call it like the pure consciousness and so on. I mean, I understand that. But pure consciousness, that equanimous feeling, like being an observer of this, and sometimes even being the observer of the observer, like that. And there is some ways of going to more subtler, but they are all related with equanimity. And then you know that it's not that being an observer and all that is make you liberated. It's this wisdom, even any kind of feeling, perception, even of a subtlest nature, it has an arising and passing away. If it is an arising, so this is like your mind is filled with this awareness of kind of a realization of rising, passing away. So whatever rises, you completely turn away. So you're left with what does not arise. So that turning away effect, now normally when you are going away from that, like observing and all that, you really go away from, you distance yourself from the, those objects and this thing. But that is also certain desirelessness from the five senses. It is also in the right direction. But this creates so much desirelessness when wisdom arises. It creates, I would call it now, if you call it minus, this is like minus minus, double minus. So you have to test yourself also, not because you're Buddhist or something. If you practice, you must check which one, the analyzing the insights, make you overcome the attachment to something, or in practical situation. Now in my jungle experience, I found when I was not having the comfort zone, some practices of samadhi, I couldn't do it. So if I had only that meditation, I would be lost. And I see some of my teachers in the yogic way that I had came across later, and who trained me some things they gave, I see that they too, though they were very famous people, but in the last moments they had difficulties. Because I can understand when you're faced with a lot of pain and some difficulty, it's difficult to bring in sometimes samadhi practice. But the practice of observing, analyzing, this can be done in any situation. And you can just come to peace with any most tough situation. And sometimes that can be a moment of really awakening. So what you are telling, I want to come to that. Like when you are practicing samadhi, just do that. Don't, because we have to master it very much. We can't bring. So when you are reading the sutta, like when you are going to walk in meditation, it's nice to apply that what you have read, the skandhas or so on, and then so even satipatthana, that's dhammanupassana already. Must know. Now, someone says now already always the Satipatthana Sutra. The Satipatthana Sutra in every Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, when it is Samudaya Dhammanu, Vaya Dhammanupassana, it's Dhammanupassana. It's in Vedana also when you see the rising and passing away of feelings, when you are contemplating that, the cause and how it passes away, then it's already Dhammanupassana. Dhammanu means contemplation. Okay, that is what brings, just observing the feeling is not going to bring wisdom. You see the cause of this arising, and it's not just, it's normally still the contact is the cause, and the absence of contact, how the feeling. Now say you take food, when you're munching and eating, you get while it's touching, you get consciousness. In that one it says ice cream, this is whatever, toast or whatever, okay? So when that is happening, when that substance is no more, that consciousness is not arising. So if you're really watching while tasting also, you see it's the contact is the cause. No contact, no rising of that. So when the contact is absent, how it comes to an end? Dissolution. So that's your contemplate. Then when you see that, you also perceive you get I experience this. It is for that feeling, and you have, because of the clinging, you are having unmindfulness, and there you are identifying as a self there. But if you are focused and waiting and really observing while it's touching, and how when the crumbs are no more touching, that's not arising, then what happens? You see it was not a self there, it's just something, the self material has immediately dissolved. And so this, when more you have any levels of seeing the phenomena, you will naturally don't see a self there. Because you are not seeing, you are getting that old habit of getting, that is oh me, say I'm there. Like now when you're, your legs are numb, say when you're seated, the blood is not flowing, if you don't see it from your eyes, sometimes you get the sense whether the leg is there. Maybe someone can cut a piece and take, you will not notice that. But when the blood starts to this thing and you feel with the wrong mindfulness of it, you get the sense of I. So, Bhante, am I right with the feelings, unmindful way of sort of experiencing it in an ignorant way, you get the sense of I? I have seen in the suttas somewhere like that, and it's very nice, practical, you see it's also, am I right? I like to, because I don't get a chance to.
But I don't think if you cut his leg, he's not sensing it, he'll feel it.
So, any other this thing? Come to the last part slowly.
Yeah, I think we'll have to get close to one more question.
Okay, sir. One or two questions if you like. Yeah.
I'm not sure if the question is really related to the lecture, but quite often I find in the sutta, the instruction is quite general, especially when it comes to, how exactly you know whether you've actually entered first jhana, or second jhana, or third jhana. usually the description in the sutra is quite general. For example, the first jhana, it says joy and happiness born of renunciation. In the second jhana, it's a joy and happiness born of meditation. So again, the question is like, how exactly do you know when you have really entered first or second
So
jhana?
normally I tell it's better now. Normally now your question is very much at ground level and very practical. But some people ask me about fourth dhyana, this psychic powers and all that. It's okay. So I normally tell, if you can get first dhyana even is good enough, because normally our concern is to be absent of the 5 hindrances. Otherwise, in other words, the reptilian brain, if it is not working at all, this is the best condition for this analyzing and insights to take place. These are doorways for enlightenment. Because you like put a darkness, the Buddha explains, to Mara when you attain the first dhyana and the second like that. So it's like, so this is, if you want to, the way you enter, it's like, you know, I would say, you feel happy for no reason. This is in that direction. Better not label it. You're just happy. You're content. Because of the craving is subdued or this thing, you get another type of feeling. It's called niramisa. So that niramisa feeling, I would also call it like sometimes you enter air-conditioned room when you're in a hot place, you know, and just you're finding happiness in boredom or emptiness. Normally it's not happening. If it is a worldly thing, you feel uncomfortable with it. But when you get samadhi, you feel for no reason something, and when you are in first samadhi, you can't be yawning. You understand? If you're like yawning or you feel fear, so in the absence of those other negative qualities, and you have this special, independent, nice feeling, there's something you can. I don't think you should even label with this first dhyana. You could say my meditation seems to be okay, like that, you know, because I mean, better not. You know that this is something of that nature with piti, like that, and better one learns to master it more. And but do you understand? Do you get?
Thank you.
Any other one wants to? Now you have a lot of questions.
Just a follow-up on that.
Okay, but your questions are good. Only matter of the two people. We start from then. We come. Okay, we come here. I don't want to. My Bante is here. Others I would have taken you all until morning.
So just follow up on that. That when you are investigate, like when you reach, like when the 500 hindrances are subdued, how would you how would you activate the mind? I have not gone, but I've just realized a lot of piti.
You don't activate, do nothing, just enjoy that first. You enjoy that spiritual ice cream. Okay, try to master it and pervade yourself a little bit from, you know, this is the first time you get a taste of, away from the karma, the sanskaras being reduced. So just experience it, and in next time also take it as an experience, because an expectation of it will block it again. But this needs lot of, you know, purity of your daily activity. Now I told you, like relaxing and driving and all these things. These are one, and sense control. You can't get without the basics of that being fulfilled to some extent, because it builds up, it saturates to that equanimity to a certain extent, and then it enters into that. You understand? So this, you know, it needs that lot of. So don't name it also. Just take it now. Today my meditation was quite good. So then later read the books, Skandha, Salayatana, Satipatthana, and what don't read, like just take the certain points. Let you that time your mind is capable of baking the idea. You get it? We are rushing. Why? We don't have the tranquility to practice that type of Buddha what he wants. Because the sutta, the way I understand is that, now today I'm using a lot the way I understand, because I'm very cautious, because they are like signposts, I would say. Now the signpost directs you to something, but it is not the destination. You get it? So it is just a pointer for to trigger a certain insight. So it's like slow, deep thinking, not shallow, fast thinking. So it needs to, so for you to, so if it becomes a strain for you to sort of apply, it means your mind is not prepared yet. It has not the prerequisites of purity and tranquility. So when you have the little restfulness in your bed maybe, you just take the book, okay, some of the like suttas which explain of analyzing and so on, you just watch yourself with that. Just like I was telling, like when he talks about the Patavidhatu, the Buddha, then you take that what he says. He says external or internal or external. Then you know what is in this space. So he takes the predominant one, the teeth, the hair, like that, so on. So you just visualize that slightly. You don't think too much. You don't wait without thinking of it. Just note that that is the predominant hard nature, and you just take that hardness and the hardness of outside anything. So just the idea is not to really get too much knowledge of the hair, is to get the sense of like it's same. Then your idea of ego goes away. That is the effect. Now you must know the purpose of the sutta. It is to bring that insight. So then you must be in that. When you get the little clarity, hold on to that. There are times when I was talking to Bhante, when he knew that I was he was explaining something and he focused, he used to remain silent. Just used to tell, hold on. Because you allow that to become a part of that. So you are sort of activating, and when maturity of that, building up that, you will get something that you can't explain. You get a clarity, it's like, wow, this is it. These are because there are levels of this to be, and then it will be like, you will get faith in the Buddha, because you know one of those words you were reading when you were going for a walk, this just triggered, and you will actually see the Buddha. See means they are not a visual, it's like you have no doubt, you saw it's like a ever functioning principle, that is universal one that is there, and you now suddenly saw it. Any the one question from there, no? Last one maybe, okay? Yes.
So earlier you were talking about that you were contemplating creating a machine that would...
It's non-stop machine. As a young boy, 9 years, 8 years.
So what do you think of that now?
I have created it, I think, now. But not from outside, it's from you can't create any non-stop machine from outside, but you can create it from inside. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, no? Because I had only that information. My father was, that engineering and all the drawing boards, and so I was trying to think. Actually, first I was trying to create with water, because water was available so much. So I thought if we can make an engine works with water, no problem, we can run forever. So later it came to this non-stop machine, but it's another story where I was wanting to take part in exhibition. I was trying to transfer energy from one to the other, but I didn't know the principles of friction and gravity and resistance, so it was all. But my father encouraged me. He was so nice. He gave an entire workshop for me to do these things, and so that created that analyzing and this thing mind. So helpful. So, Bhante, shall we? I normally do a small last meditation for your practice. I didn't do this for a long time, but I like to maybe bring. How do I do this? If you want to. Yeah. Normally we call it Kaya Viveka and Chitta Viveka. This initial physical restfulness, something I think is important to do. Like when you sort of now, when I say meditation, you all are moving your bodies and so on. So all this time you are not meditating, especially when you are trying to hear a Dhamma discussion. You should have been doing it more. So now this must be done in your activity. You must see a comfortable way where you don't think much about your body. So these are important when you're driving and when you're sort of sweeping. You try to enjoy it by experiencing peacefulness in your mind and doing the job. You're not giving values to getting jobs done. Your main job is to do it peacefully. You may get late for things, it's okay, but I'm giving an excuse to myself. Okay? Yeah, because but don't be late to Nibbana. So this is something I think we try to make sure you walk or do your activities, then you can relate exactly you're doing what the Buddha has told, Iriyapate. And there are other practices like Gate, Chite, Bhasite, Tunnibahe, like when you're going, walking, talking, moving, be mindful of your bodily area. He gives you an idea, where to focus on. And then you see, like your gearbox, when you have a lot of crowded places, suddenly you switch to sense restraint. First gear in uphill. Then when you are a little okay, when not of the thing, then you go to Sati Sampajanya or contemplating the body and so on. So you go to the fourth gear immediately. So like this you have to learn, these are like with practice you learn to change according to the circumstance, situation. But so this by only practicing a lot, you get to know, how this all applies. So this one, I need another person to demonstrate this. I didn't do it for some time, but can someone would like to come? Would like to? Okay, okay, new person. Just you can sit here, facing the crowd. So now, I want you to keep open your eyes, and it's not a meditation. It's like when you fall asleep or anywhere, you must learn to relax. You sit in a comfortable posture, but you don't worry about your sitting. It may be your legs are straight. That's better when you're feeling comfortable, but not in a sleeping posture that you feel, like you can even where you don't sort of look at your body or feel the body too much. Very nice, like thinking you're in front of a beach, looking at a nice, scenery, or in the park. Just try not to do anything, even meditation. Just learn to sit there. It's most important. And here in this case, you can have a look here. Can you relax completely? And keep your hands relaxed. No need to meditate. Meditation is also tension. Okay? You can have, like this, okay? Relax. Try to have a relaxed posture. The other hand also keep it the same, Take a deep breath and all your tension, let it pass away. Now in this case, you might worry there are a lot of crowd and so on. Just take this illusion. For me, no problem because I am a visitor. But when you're familiar with people, you'll be a little conscious of the persons and so on. But take it, let me relax. Like when I'm falling asleep, I will let go everything. Okay? I will do something, don't pay attention to that. Just pay attention in just focusing on the tension in the mind and sort of relaxing. See, the shoulders have tension. If you want your legs to be straight, do whatever and just be relaxed. Okay, you're relaxed. Good, good. Take a seat. Okay, very good. So these people are meditating, huh? Okay. Right. So, just some idea. Already, when you sit down, just try to pay no attention much to the body. Yeah. Did you look at my YouTube, this thing? No, no? Did you? No, it's okay. So now when you pay attention, the other one, another small one, you all don't look very, this thing. You take your hand and relax. No, Bhante, not you, sir. And vigorously. And then relax like this. Just tighten your hands, strong, and then relax. It's nice if you're leaning or something, because you should not hold your body too much. These are small little preliminary, because we don't have time for doing Sakman or anything. Just quick Sakman, that was, right? Relax. And then nicely pay attention to the sounds you're hearing now. Just pay attention. Now you can hear the sound. There's a generator you are hearing also. Just relaxingly pay attention to the sounds. you're relaxingly paying attention to the sound, you should come naturally. You'll be noticing your bodily function of inhaling and exhaling. You'll come to notice it naturally. Don't try to do it like anapanasati. No, I'm not telling like that. Just you'll be noticing inhalation and exhalation. And when you're relaxing like that, say you're reading a sutta. This is part of a sutta. Sutta means taken out from the sutta in the word of the Buddha by Gnanaloka Thero. What now is the solid element? The solid element may be one's own. Before that reading, you just picture yourself seated in this chair. Now I am seeing myself seated. Time to time I am feeling how I am inhaling and exhaling, and how my body is dressed up with these robes. In your case, maybe shirts or jersey. Just picture yourself how you are dressed up, seated. Then you try to apply what he is telling, the master. What now is the solid element? The solid element may be one's own, or it may be external. And what is one's own solid element? Whatever one's own person or body, there exists of karmically acquired hardness, firmness, such as the hairs of the head, hairs of the body. Now whenever he tells like that, suddenly you must get a picture. Hairs of the head, it should just show me slightly, little black or blonde or whatever color. Hairs of the body, that means nails, teeth, suddenly picturing the white, all the time relaxing your mind and helping you to let go. Skin, flesh, sinews, bone. As a bone you should picture inside you, the white color, marrow, kidneys, heart, liver, diaphragm, spleen, lungs. Just go fast. Now whether it be one's own solid element or whether it be the external solid element, they are both merely the solid element. That is a contemplation part. Just merely the solid element. Hardness there, hardness outside. You get a sense of like you're looking at another person. And one should understand according to reality and true wisdom, this does not belong to me, this am I not, this is not myself. Meanwhile, when you're trying to visualize, you'll be noticing you inhaling and exhaling. You're keeping yourself relaxed and doing this. All the while helping you to visualize and let go your so-called illusion of self, the body. So when you read through this, you will find you are reducing tension. You feel energized and peaceful. So he goes to the fluid element, apodhatu. So it goes on to all the elements, urine and so on, skin, grease, saliva, nasal mucus. So you can think whether it is one's own fluid element like the blood in your body flowing in the veins, and a tap water, just the same. So it goes to all the other, and if you have time you must slowly go through the entire thing, and one should understand according to reality and true wisdom this does not. And just as one calls a hut the circumscribed space that comes to be by means of woods and rushes, reeds and clay, even so we call a body circumscribed space that comes to be by means of bones and sinews and flesh and skin. There you see the conceptualizing taking place. How they come together, you get an idea. But they are always apart, so you just picture them until you get the idea properly of being apart and it's not you. Then you are in the right tuning of that particular contemplation. Now I don't want to go further. Just picture that. If you picture like that, you will be released from any attachment, worry, or fear. Your mind will be at peace. More you see this particular with the mind clearly, this is called evam passang yata bhutang. You see things as they are. Evametang yata bhutang. Nibbindati. If it's the right experience, you will find your mind turning away, unclutching, releasing from holding. And immediately, physically, you will feel some coolness, lightness, and brightness in the mind. You must check whether this is happening while you're reading and applying. So, if you get more visions of it, evam passang yata bhutang, it is called in Pali. If the right experiences, you will immediately, like the snake, you notice it's a snake. It's called nibbindati, you let go. Viracchati, nirodeti, cessation, nibbananti. Your mind will turn away to nibbana. Etang santang, etam panitang, sabba sankhara samato, patinisago, tannakkayo, virago, nirodo, nibbananti. Etang santang, this is peace. Sabba sankhara samato, all the formations, conditioned world comes to an end. Patinisago, holding on, comes to an end. Tannakkayo, ceasing of the craving. Virago, dispassionate. Nirodho, cessation. Nibbananti. Sankhara parama dukkha, nibbanam paramang sukha. So you think how peaceful this is. If I really merge into this, my mind will be free from greed, hate, and delusion. Just like my mind, the people in this hall, may they also get this blissful, peaceful experiences. Not only people in this hall, like you're going from a helicopter, all who are in this area and this vicinity, entire, I don't know, New Jersey and all these states, Connecticut and states, all the people living there like ants, may they get this peace of mind and sense of freedom from suffering. And not only states, South America, North America, like you're going from flying in the sky, Central America, England, Europe, Africa, the Mediterranean, Sri Lanka, India, Nepal, Tibet, and China, and Russia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, Middle East, Mediterranean, Australia, Taiwan, Japan, entire humanity in the entire planet. May they be free from greed, hate, and delusion. May they come to this inner peace. Not only human beings, the animal world, the spirit world, the hell worlds, Vetarani Paduma, Avicce. May those worlds also get this peace of mind. And the angelic worlds, Chatumaharajika Tavatimsa, Tusita Yama Nimatarati. These are the four ancient godly worlds. And beyond that, they have little loba dosamo. But if it disappears completely, like the Arahants, how blissful they will be. Not only them, Brahmalokas, Brahma Purohita, Brahma Parisajja, Mahabrahma, Vehapala Abasara, Akanita Brahmaloka, Nesanya, Nasanya. They don't have greed, hate, but there is this idea of self, that heaviness of self, the subtlest heaviness. When that also disappears, how peaceful it will be. So you wish them completely that final peace from the highest to the lowest, like you're looking from space. You can do this more when you get home and rest of your time. It's changing from vipassana to samadhi with metta. You can change like this. More the vipassana, more compassion you'll have, more samadhi is possible also. Samadhi also can help you like this both ways. And just now, before I leave maybe, I will be doing something, give you some kind of some blessings. It's connected with samadhi a little bit. And for this, it's good if you can keep silence the night. You can take dinner, because you just imagine some yogis or people who are practicing in the Himalayas for a long time, no meeting anyone, silent. So generate certain types of energy. So if you keep silence, try to keep, if you have something really essential you can do, speak or do something. So in the morning, in the night time, you'll get some more blessings of it. So just I'm telling maybe organizers, I mean it's difficult for them to solve certain new things. So I just try to give you some blessings that, and maybe I might meet Bhante privately, or I don't know how it is. So just only thing. I couldn't pay proper respects to Bhante, so I had to. While I was doing this practice, another thing came, and I didn't want to disturb this silence also. Maybe I don't know whether Bhante remember this. I was with Bhante Rakkhita. Bhante visited Pulgastu Aranya, and Bhante was staying for a few days. I think it was the ashes of Piyadasi Mahatera or Ven Bambalapitiye. Yes, that's right, that trip. Then I think Bhante stayed for 1 night, 2 nights or something. I can't remember. Okay. But Bhante, I remember Bhante, there was something prepared for Bhante. He was dropped at the station. And then we were there, and then suddenly there was something prepared for Bhante, some dana. Remember? And it was there, of course, but it was not offered to Bhante, I think, something like that. And Bhante just left. It was there next to him in the table in front of the porch. And suddenly when Bhante left, we noticed, I think Rakkhita Bhante, he noticed that. Then he was also commenting how Bhikkhu Bodhi, because I think Rakkhita Bhante he has associated Bhante very much at Island. So they have great respect. I don't know, I have not been with Bhante so much, but of course I know he's a very great monk in this thing. But so he suddenly told, quickly, you must go. But he was telling how he didn't also tell to sort of give it to me or something. He just went, and he waited until he didn't care that, that the food was being got or not. And anyway, I went with, we went in the speedboat there, and we went, and Bhante was there. The train has not come, and we gave the, can you remember that, Bhante? Not that part.
You have a better memory.
That's, I don't remember the other part. I remember this one very well. It was in 19. So, yeah, I did a lot of, I was able to do a lot of service to the monks also that time. It was a little problem. So, just I want to give quickly the blessings, otherwise people will, just 1 minute. Can you wait 1 minute? Just 1 minute. Eh? Just stand there, it's okay. Just stand there. Anyone have any particular something that make you feel difficult still? You feel, oh, I have to face this, something, I feel still worried about this life, about this, something. Can you slightly raise your hand? If anyone has anything like that? Okay. Yeah? Slightly raise, okay. I'm not talking to joke about it. It's really you have something, please. I will think about it particularly. Okay. Some of you may be shy also because it's okay. Karma vipaka dukkha dina satya. Pera pina matveya. Sabba Mangalam, Rakantu Sabba Devata, Sabba Buddha Anubhavena, Dhamma Anubhavena, Sada Suddhi Bhavata, Gurupada. Ratan Mahansalagit, Perumpuragan Gyautuman Mahansala, He Mahaguna Palemi, Buddha Mata, Ubahasemi Palod, Janita. Dukim Detva, Nivansa. Keep your eyes closed for 5 minutes, okay? Bhante, I will go with Bhante now, but you keep your eyes closed, right? Okay, Bhante.
Okay, everyone, thanks for coming. And I just want to let you know that you are amazing that you sit here for 3 hours. That's awesome. But I do need some volunteer to help me. So I probably need some strong women and men. If you can stay for a little while, we need to kind of clean out the space, and then we need to separate the cushion and put the table back. Okay, thanks for coming.